Hello, good morning, and it is the day after Akwatia by-elections. This is the AM show, and Akwatia has a member of parliament. Welcome, I'm MFA Akosia Adeti. Most importantly, it is midweek. Welcome to midweek. An opportunity to right all of your wrongs. On the show this morning, definitely, we shall bring you some news updates. A little later, we shall bring you some sports updates as well. And a gentle reminder that the AM show is sponsored by Kenoga Company Limited and Syntex Tank. Syntex Tank, tough. Now, this morning, we shall be bringing you all of the news review, everything that's happening in the newspaper. And as well, we shall bring you what has been happening. The NDC's Bernard Bediako has defeated the NPP Solomon Esimedu. We'll bring you that details. More than 2,000 votes difference. And a little later as well, we shall bring you big stories. You recall that the president, by recommendation of the committee that investigated her suspension, has recommended that she be removed, and the president has done so. We'll bring you all of that as well in our big stories. But most importantly, we shall tell you how the win of NDC's candidates would mean or impact the NPP's 2028 presidential bid and even more parliamentary bid. So you want to stay with us here. There is more on the show, but Noella will come up with the news.
Well, it's 6:05 a.m. Good morning and welcome to the AM News with me, Noella Karen-Yali. And we begin with our top story. And the NDC's Bernard Bediako has defeated the NPP's Solomon Esimedu by more than 2,000 votes to win the keenly contested Akwatia by-election. Now, his win brings the total number of NDC MPs to 184, giving the governing a supermajority in Parliament. Now, the NPP had hoped it could retain the seat following the sudden demise of their departed MP, Ernest Kumi, and the following report has more.
Solomon Esimedu had 15,235 votes. Bernard Bediako Bedu of NDC had 18,199. I, Eric Osujemfi, the returning officer of Akwatia constituency, declare Bernard Bediako Bedu MP elects for Akwatia constituency.
That was the Electoral Commission's returning officer for the Akwatia by-election, declaring the results of that particular poll. The governing National Democratic Congress, NDC, has secured a supermajority in Parliament with a decisive victory in Akwatia. The party's candidate, Bernard Bediako, won the hotly contested election with 18,199 votes, defeating the NPP Solomon Esimedu, who polled 15,235. Bernard Bediako thanked supporters after his overwhelming victory.
I told you guys that we've been in this game for a while. If you are in it and you are losing, you will know, except maybe if you don't want to be honest to yourself. I told you what we were working out at that moment I spoke to was with regards to the gap. But as for the win, what are we witnessing? We've won. We are grateful for the opportunity the people of Akwatia has given us. It is a clear mandate, and we would not take it for granted. We will make sure we give them the best of representation and serve them well.
Supporters of the NDC's candidate hit the streets in jubilant mode after he was officially declared winner.
Now, lawyer, also go see a lawyer. About to Equafampa, the Maniaji Bebre, say I didn't kunim. Now, Radi Akai, boy, I didn't
Deputy Director of Elections and IT of the NDC, Tanko Rashid Computer, had this to say after the win.
We told you that we are going to get 54%, more than that was projected. The projection was 53, but we finally got 54 plus. And you can look at the difference as projected. There's no difference between our own coalition and that of the EC coalition. The same, it came to the same, no difference. That tells you that we are on top of issues, and you saw what happened. We have worked for it. We have a credible candidate, and we have good message, and the people bought our message. And then so we are not surprised. People thought we were just binding figures around, but the figures actually shows that we worked according to the figures that was given.
The exercise was relatively peaceful, with pockets of misunderstandings recorded at some polling stations. The Ghana Police Service deployed more than 5,000 personnel to man the elections in Akwatia. The defeat leaves the NPP with 87 MPs, as opposed to the NDC's 184.
Now, moving on, President John Mahama has directed the Ministry of Lands and Natural Resources, together with the Lands Commission, to immediately conduct a comprehensive audit of all state lands allocated, leased or sold, particularly between 2017 and 2024. Now, speaking during the inauguration of the reconstituted National Lands Commission, the President said where illegality or impropriety is uncovered, such transactions will be reversed and the lands recovered for the state in accordance with the law. He added that the sale of the State Lands Committee has already begun its work and is expected to submit its findings soon.
I've directed the Ministry of Lands and Natural Resources and the Lands Commission to immediately undertake a comprehensive audit of all state lands allocated, leased or sold, particularly between 2017 and 2024. This audit will cover lands acquired for schools, hospitals and public institutions, forests and ecological zones unlawfully converted to private use, any transaction tainted by conflict of interest, abuse of power or political patronage. Where illegality or impropriety is discovered, such transactions will be reversed and the land will be recovered to government by law. We're not on a witch hunt. Those who have legally acquired land through proper processes need not fear. This exercise is about fairness and justice. The Sale of State Lands Committee has begun its work and will soon submit its findings. That report will serve as a blueprint for rethinking the management, allocation, and protection of state lands. To transform land administration, we must move from paper platform bureaucracy to speed and digitization. The Lands Commission is being tasked to digitize all land records nationwide, building on the Enterprise Land Information System. To integrate services across registries, valuation, and survey departments. And three, very important, to introduce blockchain technology to prevent tampering with land data. And four, to decentralize operations by establishing functional land offices in all the 261 metropolitan and municipal and district assemblies. Over 300 qualified young professionals will be recruited and deployed to support this decentralization effort. These district offices will become the front line of citizen-friendly land service delivery. Our goal is clear. No land document should take more than 30 working days to process, and no Ghanaian should have to pay bribes or know someone at the top to be able to register their land. Corruption within the Lands Commission will no longer be tolerated or treated indifferently.
Well, the President also announced the lifting of the temporary ban on state lands transactions. He explained that going forward, all allocations, leases, or sales of state lands must strictly adhere to transparent processes, digital verification systems, and effective oversight mechanisms.
In pursuit of this reform agenda, my government placed a temporary ban on all state land transactions to enable a thorough review of existing processes That exercise has yielded valuable insights into the weaknesses of our current system and the urgent reforms that are required. So today, with the inauguration of the new Commission and the adoption of robust accountability measures, I'm pleased to announce that the ban on land transactions has been lifted. Henceforth, all land transactions, allocation, lease, or sale must strictly comply with transparent processes, digital verification, and oversight mechanisms. The lifting of this ban must not signal a return to business as usual. It is a signal that a new disciplined era of land management has begun. And that is why we are embarking on a bold reset, an agenda that is rooted in 4 pillars. The first being to restore public confidence in land administration through transparency, fairness, and justice. 2, to reverse illegal land transactions, reclaiming encroached lands, and protecting public assets. 3, digitizing, modernizing, and decentralizing land services to ensure access and efficiency. And 4, harmonizing customary and statutory land systems to promote equity and coherence.
Now, they call it the tree of life, once feeding families, healing the sick and nurturing generations. But in Minduri in Ghana's Upper East, the mighty baobab is withering. In Bansi and beyond, shifting skies and a changing climate are stripping strength from a tree that once held whole communities together. On Climate Focus today, Joy News' Mahmoud Mohammed Nuruddin tells the story of fading root, broken livelihoods, and a race against time to save the tree of life.
Across the savannas of northern Ghana, the baobab tree towers like an ancient guardian, but today these giants are in distress. In Binduri, especially in the Bansi community, farmers are seeing the trees slowly die and are no longer producing fruits.
When I moved into this house, the flourishing baobab tree was a valuable resource for us. We would harvest its leaves to make nutritious soups. However, over the past 3 years, the tree has struggled with poor fruit production. To make matters worse, whenever it does produce fruit, pests seem to appear, further diminishing its yield. This decline has been concerning, and finding a solution to restore the tree's health and productivity has become a priority.
Baobab leaves are an important part of meals in northern Ghana. The fruit is full of vitamin C, but now some baobab trees have stopped growing leaves.
Yeah, so economically, we will harvest the fruit and sell. People buy the fruit and prepare local drinks. Some too use it as because it's because of the sour nature of it. Some people use it to prepare teas. Others also use it to mix with flour to prepare porridge. So people used to buy, we harvest the fruit and they'll buy it. And also the leaves. The leaves also is nutritious. And so people buy it and prepare soup. So we used to sell at least, if it is up to that time, we'll get money out of it. We'll make money. We used to make money out of it. And it was a huge tree. So it could have the fruit more than 500. And so if you harvest, you make money.
Experts say there are many reasons. The weather keeps changing and windstorms happen without warning. Trees that lived for hundreds of years are now falling because they can't fight these problems. Some farmers are asking for help. They want research and protection for one of Africa's most important natural resources. Unless urgent action is taken to steady, restore and protect, the tree of life may become a tree of the past. A report by Mohammed Nuruddin.
Climate Focus is brought to you by Joy News in partnership with Youth Bridge Foundation, bridging gaps for positive youth development, and the Climate Development Knowledge Network.
Well, moving on, the president of the Institution of Engineering and Technology Ghana, Engineer Henry Kwadwo, has warned government against the lack of project management in planning and implementing projects in Ghana. Now, he observed that the country's firefighting approach to planning and implementation has resulted in numerous abandoned projects across the country. Speaking at the 3rd International Project Management Bootcamp at the University of Cape Coast, Engineer Boateng called for urgent reforms to avoid wasting taxpayers' money. Abigail Isel Nkrumah has more on this report.
The 3rd International Project Management Bootcamp held at the University of Cape Coast was on a theme, turning plans in progress, rethinking projects' delivery of national impact. The bootcamp focused on the planning and execution stages of projects and government's role in these processes. According to Engineer Henry Kwadwo, the president of the Institution of Engineering and Technology Ghana, the country's engagement in project management is minimal.
Basically, I can say in Ghana we don't do project management. We do the firefighting approach. If you look at the projects that goes on into the country, most of these projects are not properly managed, and we have a lot of abandoned projects. Yes, so we have group to rethink and come out with a communique and advise the government the way forward to avoid this wastage of taxpayers' money.
The host of the bootcamp, Engineer Dr. Jamran Kuma Ebenezer, lamented the consequences of illegal mining, sharing that there are alternatives to the illegal activity.
We have realized that Galamsey started way back, 1950s, way back, and fighting has been like soldiers, burning of what do you call it, excavators, doing this, and still all going on. Galamsey is there. It is causing evil. And at the same time, Galamsey is there. It is giving people money. It is giving people livelihood. It is giving people wealth. But how can we manage it in such a way that at the end of the day, it will be something that will not be encouraged at all? But all those who are involving themselves in the Galamsey can also have opportunity to do the right mining. So that is why we are organizing this bootcamp, to find out the alternative means for Galamsey and other project delivery in Ghana. So we are rethinking to have an alternative way, that is systematic project management.
Former Vice Chancellor of the Cape Coast Technical University, Reverend Professor Joshua Wusu-Sechere, highlighted the essence of project management.
Financiers should not embark on any projects that they cannot complete. I think that's the bottom line. Even on this campus, you will find some projects which have been initiated and we can't complete them. Let's wake up out of our slumber. It doesn't help anybody at all.
From Cape Coast, Abigail Isel Nkrumah reports for Joy News.
And now, a new baseline study conducted by the Center for Democratic Development has uncovered a worrying trend in Ghana's northern regions, where about 70% of community members do not have access to critical productive assets like land, livestock, and farming equipment. The situation is most dire in the Upper East region, where over 99% of individuals face the shortage, with full-beat women and youth particularly at risk due to limited land ownership and financial independence, while the Upper West regions show 93.38%. Now, contributing factors include climate change, youth unemployment, and resource scarcity. Joy News' Upper West regional correspondent Rafiq Salam reports from Wa.
CDD Ghana, in collaboration with Caro Ghana, with funding by the Global Community Engagement and Resilience Fund, is implementing a 2-year project dubbed Bridging the Gap, Promotion of Socioeconomic Livelihood, Social Cohesion, and Peace Building in Vulnerable Communities. In line with the project, the Upper West Regional Dialogue Session was held in the Wa municipality to discuss a baseline survey conducted by CDD Ghana. Program Officer at CDD Ghana, Eric Doe, presented the baseline survey, revealing that 70% of community members in the northern sector of Ghana lack access to productive assets.
From the baseline survey, we realized that out of every 10, there are 7 people who don't have access to productive assets. When we refer to productive assets from our baseline, it refers to land, farming tools, and livestock. There were also disparities in terms of limited access to essential productive assets.
Executive Director of Karo Ghana, a non-governmental organization based in the Upper West region, and implementers of the project, Freeman Canton, further to light about the project.
And today's survey dissemination meeting is supposed to desensitize, is supposed to provide information to regional stakeholders as leaders in public service delivery in the region, to act as ambassadors at the district level to ensure that young people participate or have access to public services in order to improve the trust that exists between community members and public service providers.
Freeman Canton also highlighted a worrying trend of 13% of young people having the impression that using violent means is acceptable to resolve conflicts.
The survey identified that about 13%, 10 to 24% of young people have the impression or agreed that they would resort to violence to resolve conflicts.
Our Regional Minister, Lawyer Charles Wong Opozung, represented by the Chief Director of the Upper West Regional Coordinating Council, Haji Fati Sakokure, noted that the baseline survey is timely as it provides them with a guide in their decision making.
But more importantly, this dialogue creates space for us to think together, share experiences, and shape strategies that are practical and responsive to the realities on the ground. This is the kind of participatory approach that builds trust and strengthens the bond between citizens and the state.
The survey was conducted in Wa, Lora, and Nando municipalities and Lamuse districts. Reporting for Dwayne News, Rafik Salam. Wa.
Let's do some business updates now. And the country has made significant progress in putting in place laws to check money laundering and terrorist financing. That's according to the 2024 National Risk Assessment Report that assesses Ghana's performances in those areas. And here's more in a report.
The report also revealed that the country has taken some bold steps to also prosecute persons that were found to be engaging in those practices. Also, in the area of terrorist financing, the country rate was low due to the fact that there are no terrorist groups identified to be operating in Ghana. Additionally, government has also put in place robust measures to safeguard their jurisdiction from being used to raise, move or store funds for terrorism purposes. Despite this progress, the report emphasized the need for enhanced coordination between government agencies to address what it describes as emerging risk. However, the report was worried about the lack of regulation in the real estate sector, as well as timely access to reliable beneficial ownership of assets, which exposes the country to some of these threats. On the other hand, fraud, tax offences and drug trafficking have been identified as the major offences confronting the country.
Well, that's it for the business news. I'm Noella Karaniali. Sports is up next.
Good morning. Time now to bring you sports here on the AM show with me, Muftao Nabila Abdullah. The government of Ghana has cut the Black Stars budget for Mali and Chad of about $732,000. According to the Minister of Sports and Recreation, the Ghana Football Association presented a budget of about $2 million. But the ministry, after review, decided to cut down the budget, and that included removing winning bonuses management committee had decided to pay themselves.
It began as more of a promise and maybe a comment that was made to satisfy Ghanaians. On the floor of Parliament, John Dramani Mahama said his government was going to make public national expenditure when it comes to the national teams.
I've instructed my office and the Minister for Sports and Recreation to hold the Ghana Football Association accountable to the people of Ghana as we prepare for these games, especially regarding the budget of the FA. There will be no secrecy in how much the government spends on the national teams. The budgets presented by the FA and other sports associations must be known by the public. After all, it is the taxpayers' funds that are used to fund these activities.
In the press conference room of the Ministry of Sports and Recreation, those comments that he made, the minister has finally adhered to them and revealed financial details of the Black Stars ahead of their World Cup qualifiers against Chad and Mali.
Ghana versus Chad, which is the away game that will be played on the 4th September. The original estimates for that game was about $1,239,090. But after we went through it and took off what we thought must be taken off, this was reduced to $856,890 US dollars, meaning that per the arrangement that His Excellency have directed us to work with, a savings of $382,200 was realized in the way. This was done through either reduction of some of the items, line items, or completely taking some of them off.
Kofi D. Adams also revealed that the previous administration never at any point questioned any financial estimates that were submitted to this very office. And what it meant was that management committee members of the Black Stars walked away with $10,000 winning bonus, while the players were receiving just $5,000.
Per the previous arrangement, management team members will be paid winning bonuses. His Excellency John Dramani Mahama thinks otherwise, that no, supervise, you will be given your per diem, but you will not be paid any winning bonus. Manage the team, supervise the team, let the team qualify for the tournament. And when it does, you will be rewarded appropriately. So the management, the 6-7 management team members are no longer part of those who take the winning bonus. That is completely off the budget line now. The bonus for officials was just the same as the bonus for the assistant coaches. They were also to receive $10,000.
From the press conference room of the Ministry of Sports and Recreation for Joy Sports, I am Muftau Nabila Abdullahi.
And to the Black Stars, the team, they have arrived in N'Djamena ahead of that Thursday World Cup qualifier against Chad. It is a match day 7 encounter. The senior national team currently sits at the top of the group with 15 points, 3 points more than second place team Comoros. Ghana, if they win this game, will be going to 18 points and probably could put themselves in the pole position to qualify for the tournament, because match day 7 will see second place Comoros come up against third place Mali. And it is possible a draw will be in favor of the Black Stars, as they will be opening about a 5-point gap in their group. And next week, Monday, the Black Stars will be coming up against Mali in a contest that could secure qualification to the next edition of the FIFA World Cup that will be taking place in the USA, Mexico, and Canada. To the Democracy Cup now, and the Parliament of Ghana, they have presented the trophy to President John Dramani Mahama. The Speaker of Parliament, Alban Babin, says that the Democracy Cup is one that is meant to unite the country. According to him, democracy is the ultimate soul of this country. It is important that everyone who is associated to football patronize this event.
Babin, accompanied by a delegation of sports dignitaries, presented the 2025 Democracy Cup trophy to the president at the Jubilee House ahead of this year's competition. The presentation formed part of a tour of key government institutions and prominent national figures.
Today, we bring this journey to its rightful climax here at the presidency. Before you, Your Excellency, the Commander-in-Chief of the Ghana Armed Forces, the Head of State and Head of Government, and the President of the Republic of Ghana. This is because the presidency stands as the ultimate custodian of our national unity and the embodiment of our collective aspirations as a people.
In his response, President Mahama praised the Speaker's decision to link democracy with sport, saying it has created a platform to engage young people while highlighting the values of democratic governance.
The Speaker's initiative in instituting this CAP is very commendable. By linking democracy, thank you. By linking democracy with sports, he has created an innovative platform that engages the energies of our youth, inspires our citizens, and raises awareness about the centrality of democratic governance to Ghana's peace, stability, and progress. Since 1992, Ghana has chosen the path of constitutional democracy. Along this journey, we have encountered challenges, but we've also made remarkable progress. Our democracy has provided a framework for peaceful transitions of power, the protection of human rights, and the expansion of our civic freedoms, and also the participation of our citizens in shaping their own future and destinies. Mr. Speaker, in conclusion, I want to thank you for this thoughtful initiative. I accept the Democracy Cup not as a personal honor, but on behalf of the people of Ghana whose resilience and faith continue to sustain our democracy. May this cup remind us daily that democracy is not an event, but a living process, a process that we must all work together to protect and deepen for generations to come.
The 2025 edition of the Democracy Cup will take place on Friday, September 5, at the University of Ghana Sports Stadium.
Let's do some Women's CAF Champions League football now. And Ghana's police ladies, they lost 4-1 to ASEC Mimosas on Tuesday. My colleague Lawrence Bede watched the game and has details in this report.
They came into this competition with lots of objectives, lots of potential, and lots of goodies in their bags. But police ladies will be unable to represent Ghana at the CAF Women's Champions League 2025 to be staged in Tanzania. This comes after their defeat to ASEC Mimosa in the ongoing Wafubi Women's Champions League qualifier semi-final clash earlier on Tuesday. Ghana's police ladies lost by 4-1, which meant that their hopes of making the final of this competition was cut short following that defeat to the host team. After conceding just 1 goal in the opening half, police ladies were largely undone in the second half, where they went on to concede 3 more goals. They, however, grabbed a consolation through Sarah Nyako, but it wasn't enough to secure them a place in the next round of the competition. For head coach Isim Bazigi, his side faced a stronger team that unsettled them from minute 1 until the very end of the game.
You play with a team that was well organized, and they frustrate you, to deny you to play your game. And when you don't have creative players at a point, this is how you are going to face the challenges, because many of our players were not creative enough, and they played certain pattern which really broke our midfield and then our defense line.
However, believes that his side will have to recover from that damaging loss to ASEC Mimosa and prepare themselves for the 3rd place match, where they will face Usra from Burkina Faso.
It's normal in a game. You win, you cry. You lose, you cry. So let them cry. They should keep crying at a point. By the time we get to our hotels, they'll be okay. So allow them to keep crying, and then wear off the what do you call it, the sadness in them. Then we prepare them psychologically for the next game, which is also we can play for a pride. To get a 3rd place is also something that is not bad.
The chance to represent Wafu B in the CAF Women's Champions League is over for police ladies and for UC Bazigi, who was hoping to become the first person to qualify 2 different Ghanaian clubs to that stage on the continent. However, there's a lot for this team to learn as far as this competition is over. They'll have to go back to the drawing board, win the league, hopefully, and then get back onto this stage and try for the second time, just like Ampem Dakwa ladies did when they failed to qualify in 2022, but eventually made that stage in 2023. Police ladies will take to the pitch once again for that 3rd place playoff game against USFA, as mentioned earlier. But then this evening, it's all a wrap, as Bayelsa Queens have also beaten USFA to make the final of this competition, where they will be facing ASEC Mimosa in that final on Friday, September 5th. From Charles Conan Bani Stadium, Lawrence Baidu for Joy Sports.
And this is how we wrap up the AM Sports here with me, Muftawa and Nabila Abdullah. Coming up next is the newspaper review.
Over 5,000 participants drawn from all continents are attending the Africa Food Systems Forum in the capital of Senegal, Dakar. The Africa Food Systems Forum, AFSF, is the largest continental gathering on Africa's agri-food systems, bringing together leaders from governments, the private sector, research, development partners, and the youth. It is being held on the theme Africa Youth, leading collaboration, innovation, and implementation of agri-food systems transformation. Speaking at the opening session of the forum, President of Senegal, Bassirou Diomaye Faye, opined that Africa is at a decisive turning point that requires it to place youth at the heart of its development policies, underscoring the relevance of the theme of the forum. He averred that to make Africa youth the driving force of agricultural development, it must ensure education and training meet the needs of modern, intensive, and sustainable agriculture. President Bassirou called for shattering of the old myths that agriculture is a survival sector reserved for adults with no prospects.
President of Rwanda, Paul Kagame, on his part, called for a halt in the mass exodus of Africans from the continent to other continents in the world. He posited that challenges are born everywhere. It is only when they stay in the continent they will be able to solve the challenges of the continent.
I see young people, whenever there are problems in the country, they want to run away and go abroad. They go to Europe, they go to Canada, America, wherever. And I used to say, first of all, there will always be problems in any country, and there are more problems probably in our continent than others. But I used to tell them, instead of running away and going abroad and leaving your country, let's work together and find a way to resolve our problems, because there are problems everywhere. But at the same time, I used to tell them, I said, in fact, I can predict that in a short time, there will be, where you are going, they will be chasing you back to where you came from. That's about nearly 15 years ago. Now, I think I have been vindicated.
President of the Alliance for a Green Revolution in Africa, AGRA, Alice Rubezo, noted that the solution to deliver the Africa Food Systems Promise is lays in the Kampala Declaration, which is the continent's comprehensive agricultural development program.
In that, in CADA, we have committed to increase agri-food output by 45%, to reduce post-harvest losses, to triple Africa trade, to mobilize 100 billion in public and private investments, to reinforce our GDP at least 15% into the sector, to achieve zero hunger, to reduce stunting and wasting, to empower women and youth, and to improve our coordination. So our call to action today, for me, to all of you stakeholders, governments, private sector, researchers and farmers, is for us to unite behind the Kampala Declaration, behind the Comprehensive Africa Agriculture Development Plan. I'm calling on us to translate commitments into action, to domesticate the Kampala Declaration by making sure we put it in national strategies, we translate that continental ambition into national implementation.
The opening ceremony of the Africa Food Systems Forum 2025 just ended, and one key message here is that it is a summit not to showcase the challenges of Africa, but also to show its potential, harnessing it, and also involving its youth with technology innovation for the betterment of the lives of the people in the continent. Reporting for Joy News, Rafik Salam, Dakar, Senegal.
Sure, and thank you for staying with us. Now, Ghana's mango sector is ripening into a key driver of agribusiness growth, with farmers and exporters eyeing both local value addition and rising global demand, despite persistent challenges of pest, post-harvest losses, and limited processing capacity. As a result, there are a raft of government-backed measures aimed at tackling these challenges that hinder the growth of Ghana's mango industry. James Ishan has more in this report.
In Ghana's eastern region, lush green mango orchards stretch into the horizon. These trees produce not just fruit, but livelihoods, export, and opportunity. Yet, post-harvest losses and supply shortages are threatening the industry's full potential. To change this, the Tree Crop Development Authority is stepping in with a bold new strategy. Chief Executive of TCDA, Dr. Andiose Okra, led a team on a working visit to HPW Fresh and Dry Limited and Bomat Farms, two leading mango processors and exporters in Ghana.
That's the reason why I like coming to the field myself to see what is happening. And I must say I'm impressed, motivated and encouraged coming to HPW to see the level of production, the kind of work they are doing, the number of people engaged, the process in terms of operation and production. So I'm impressed, and I must say that as government and as authority responsible for ensuring that they get the raw materials to work, we will do everything possible in line with the Precedent resetting agenda to ensure we feed the industry. Because looking at the production levels that they are doing, the kind of products they are doing here, and sending some outside, largely their product going outside and depending on Ghanaian products, Ghanaian mangoes. I was amazed what I saw, the production that when we get the mangoes that have come here are all coming from Ghana. And that shows that if we continue to increase production, then there's an industry to pick these raw materials and process them, and then they can send it out. We've seen the number of people engaged here.
Mango production in Ghana runs in 2 seasons, with a peak between April and August and a smaller harvest from November to January. But the irregularity in supply presents major challenges for processors and exporters.
Been in Ghana since 2010 with our factory. Before then, we were exporting, or we were into the export and the purchases of fresh fruit. Now we have the largest drying facility in West Africa with 25 huge dryers installed. Our products are just dried fruits. We take fresh fruits and convert them into dried fruits, which can last for up to 18 months or some even 2 years, depending on the product. Our idea is to make fruit available to all classes of people. Take away all the peeling and the soiling of your hands with wet fruits to still enjoy snacks as fruit snacks in their dry stage. Number one crop is mangoes, dried mangoes, which makes up 65% of our turnover. Second one is coconuts, dried coconuts and all its derivatives, coconut snacks, coconut oils and other things. And then we have pineapples coming in third. We also work with banana, papaya, passion fruit, any other fruits that we can find in the market. We make mixes and okay, currently we are producing mangoes. Our installed capacity is about 130 tons of fresh fruit a day. That's 130,000 kilograms of mangoes a day. We are working the factory just around 120 tons a day. Well, I'm happy TCDA is here today. We are major stakeholders in the Ghanaian food sector in all the crops that we are dealing with. I believe our daily consumption of 120 tons of fresh mango is a major volume for the Ghanaian food sector. Why I am happy with TCDA is, one, they would have to bring some regularize a few things in the industry. The industry needs help. We as processors and stakeholders have been doing our bit, but it doesn't cut across. So what I want to see TCDA do is to have an oversight of the industry, to take care of the production or to be involved in the production of fruit by adopting good practices that is done elsewhere. Because Ghana mango is not different from what we have in the sub-region. The only challenge we have with the Ghanaian fruit is, in my opinion, is too expensive. Because we have footprint in the whole sub-region and the Ghanaian fruit is just expensive. This emanates from things like yield and also the input cost they have to implement, the input cost they have to apply on the farms, the yields they get.
To respond, TCDA is pushing for improved agricultural practices, better research and extension services, and increased access to quality planting materials to expand and stabilize output year-round.
And largely, the women working here, women forklifter, women engineer, women that, this is what we are talking about. Already they are operating in 24-hour policy, 3 shifts that we have seen here. And I was even advocating that it's already, they are into 24-hour already. Then as we intend increasing production and the numbers are going to increase, then he will continue to add more and more and more. So
with Ghana eyeing more value from its agro export, stabilizing mango supply means more than reducing losses. It means jobs, foreign exchange, and industrial growth.
You're watching the AM show. Now, time now to have further conversations. A lot has happened between yesterday, well, I mean, even the whole week, but most importantly, yesterday and now. And we're going to be majoring on the big stories. NDC snatches Akwatia seat from the NPP in a keenly contested by-election. Is this politically significant for the NDC? And what does this mean for the NPP as their numbers keep dwindling in Parliament? And another for Bawumia campaign as well. Does it seem to be in pole position in their upcoming presidential race? Should they be worried? Question that we'll be probing our panelists to get some answers for. And a little later as well in our discussion, President Mahama, as you may know, in an unprecedented development, has removed the Chief Justice, Gertrude Isaba Tokuno, from office following recommendations from the committee set up to investigate acts of misdemeanor leveled against her in a petition to the president. Well, rule of law or bad precedent for our democracy. We'll discuss all of this. Now, joining me for this conversation today on the show is Professor, well, we have Dr. Kwame Asante, who is a political scientist. You find him at the University of Ghana. Later, we shall be joined by Dr. John Osei-Kwapon, a project director, Democracy Project. A little later, we shall be adding on our Professor Bafo Ajimendu, former UN Senior Advisor, Governance. Thank you all for joining us this morning. But I definitely will start with you, Dr. Kwame Asante. It is the morning after our very long discussion when the voting was ongoing yesterday. Some hours after that, the NDC has the seat. Tell me your thoughts the morning after.
Good morning, Akwatia, and good morning to my own professor, and then our viewers as well. It's a beautiful morning. Let me pay tribute to the soldiers, the police, who made my day yesterday for the great work done. I salute the IGP, his men on the ground, and the work that they did. This is how society is governed. When we allow professionals to take charge of their duties, this is the type of results that we want. It is not the case that the police cannot do their work with perfection, but political actors have always disturbed them and keep their hands tight. And what do you expect? Yesterday, they did a good job. I also want to commend the people of Akwatia for demonstrating to us that they want peace and that they will make sure that peace prevails. They did it, and I salute them. I also salute the political actors for the way they comported themselves in making sure that this election went through without an incident. I salute them. This is how democracy ought to be. Election is not a do and die affair. It is a contest of ideas and the show of your work. If you don't have any, you stay out. But if you do, you demonstrate that you have by sharing your ideas, sharing your messages, and whoever is convinced that you have what it takes to lead the charge will decide as to whether you want to give you your vote or not. So that is the way to go. But I was very much worried about the fact that we needed to have a security force such as that to monitor one polling station. This is not good enough because we could do it with about 10, 20 security officers. And at the end of the day, we'll have the same results. I know it's a learning curve. And as we move on as a state, we will take some lessons and make sure we improve the system.
Well, you've talked largely about the security. You've also talked about the political parties and how they've conducted themselves. I'll stay with you a little longer, Prof, and I'll come to you shortly. But Doc, yesterday it appeared to me that you were very strongly in agreement with the Global Info Analytics research that yesterday's win, it's not surprising to you. Would I be correct if I say this?
Oh, yes. Because, you see, if you look at the place being a swing area, it could go anybody's way. But if you look at the fact that the campaign that NDC mounted, that there was every reason to believe that we're likely to carry the day. The campaign that, look, we are going to give you development. And that also was in line with Info Analytics survey, that the topmost priority of the voters was the issue of development. We are going to give you development. Our party is in government. Yes, our common fund, you can get something to develop an area if you happen to be the MP and you are not part of the ruling government. But as to the major project, would you have the muscle to do that? It is the duty of the state, and for that matter, the government, to do that. So you will not be able to do unless those in government that have what it takes to be able to, execute that project. I found it very offensive, but hey, that was the message. It resonated with the people, and it did the trick. Secondly, they also talk about the fact that Mahama has promised that the gentleman, if elected in office, he will be part and parcel of his government. Who doesn't want this? They want their MP not only be an MP, but an MP who is part of government. And you know the benefit of being an MP and being part of government. The people took advantage of that. If you look at it also against the backdrop that this is, you know, a toss-up, but that the people were predominantly Achems, and that we know how Achems generally they vote. And one would have thought that when the NPP was in office, they would take the advantage and develop the area so that the people can show that, look, this is what NPP bequeathed to us. They never saw that in 8 years. So if you listen to their messages around, I mean, I'm talking about the voters, they were all talking about one thing: development, development, development. It means they lack development. The 8 years of MPP, they never saw anything. They are rational. And if you go to Dan's theory, it talks about the fact that the voter is a rational human being and he chooses things that will satisfy his interests. And his interest here is about development. And out of the two entities, the MPP and DC, which of them is going to deliver their interest for them? Obviously, it is what the government of the day. So that is why they gravitated towards the NDC and voted massively for the NDC. I said that I was disappointed in the NDC campaign because, look, development, if you read the Constitution, I think Article 35 thereabout, it talks about the fact that every aspect of this country deserves their fair share of the development of this country. So why have political parties made it in such a way that it is only those in government that are able to deliver development to the people around the 276 constituency? That's so very unfortunate. But hey, we can't say much simply because the two parties, that is what they do. And we have glorified them all the time in giving them our votes. And we have shied away from speaking the hard language to them that this is a no, no, no. Everybody requires that. I don't need to vote for you in order to get development. I need to express myself the way I feel. And it's a matter of rights.
Right.
And that is what is missing.
Right. Professor Agyemang, thank you so much for joining us. Good morning to you again. First of all, what's your assessment of the process yesterday entirely from the time that polls were opened up until the time that declaration was done yesterday? How would you assess it? Kindly unmute for me, Prof.
Yeah, good morning to you, and good morning to my good friend in the studio, or I think at home. And I have to associate myself completely with the comments made earlier by my very good friend. Certainly, there were serious concerns about the by-election because historically, almost every by-election we have had in this country has ended with some kind of violence, and we're tired of that. So we are all happy. I'm particularly pleased that first the police were there in force and the people also behaved themselves, and it ended so peacefully. That one is a real credit to all of us, those involved in the elections. But having said, I have made a previous point about the necessity for by-elections, and I will repeat it. Of course, peace is a priority for all of us. We need to have peace in our democracy. But that does not nullify the need to rethink the whole question of by-elections. Besides the security of the country that comes under threat during by-elections, this time, of course, it wasn't that it didn't result in any violence. There are some other serious issues that we have to look at so that we can think of perhaps scrapping by-elections, because I don't see much value to it. The argument of most analysts is that it's good because it reflects representation and people should directly elect their MPs. Sure, I mean, that you can't challenge that kind of assertion. But I also will argue that representation is not always in a democracy by direct election. There are other forms of representations. So if you look at the cost and the tension and the fact that our police had to mobilize, I hear, 8,000 men and women back to the military somewhere as a standby with all these equipments for 1 week or so prior to the election. That is a massive cost to a country that needs money for other kinds of projects. So I think whilst I appreciate the fact that this one ended well, I don't think it's necessarily a model for us to think, therefore, the whole idea of by-elections is good. It can be for another argument. So that is my quick one on that. So I think yesterday, all of us are very happy that it ended well. It's a true reflection of how perhaps we are maturing. But I think this is an isolated case. So I would prefer that we continue rethinking how best we review this aspect of our constitution to allow a new system where perhaps the party that wins the constituency is made to keep it for 4 years, the term that is given to the constituency's MP. And so that if there's any vacancy in the course of the 4 years, we can have the party that won it in the first place. So simply nominate and replace the one who has become incapacitated.
Right, Prof. So for you, even for the party that won, it's still on whether or not by-elections are a necessity at the test of our democracy. Even if the party that won it, if there's a vacancy, you'd rather they nominate, not even an internal election. You'd rather they nominate. Is this what I hear you say?
There are two aspects of this. We can say the parties should nominate and have their own internal elections and replace the one who has departed. Or we can simply say the constituency executives of that area, in consultation with the national executives of the party, should nominate one. So that even within the party, like currently, we hear in Tamale Central, where we're going to have one, and there are 14 or 12 people competing. I don't know what goes into that competition. We all know what goes into that. It breeds corruption and all this kind of thing. So for me, once you've gotten the seat, let the party keep it for 4 years and find a more decent way of replacing whoever departs.
Well, Prof, allow me to bring in Professor Smart Sapon, his Director of Research and Innovation at Kumasi Technical University. Prof, it's good to have you on this morning, especially because of our conversation yesterday. Yesterday, I quite recall that you mentioned that the variables or the kind of research that the Global Info Analytics did, you're not surprised because they are the general variables that will go into such a research. There are more nuanced reasons which may influence voter turnout and even the candidates that will win. Are you surprised at the turnouts this morning?
Good. Good morning, Akwatia, and a very good morning to our cherished listeners and viewers. I think it is a confirmation of all the discussions we had yesterday in the morning. And yesterday in the morning, the conclusion from all the panel members suggested that it was going to be rather very difficult for the NDC to lose than difficult for the NDC to lose than to win. Because if the key variables, standard variables, included development as the topmost factor, and then you look at the two of them and you ask yourself, whose president is already on the seat and therefore holds the key to development, it was obviously going to be the NDC's candidate. So for me and for many, I'm sure, this turnout won't be much of a surprise. You look at our history, and it has been so in about 30 out of the 33, 34 by-elections. There's been like 30 just like this. I mean, people usually vote for the one whose president is in place, except on 4 different occasions where the system varied. So I am personally not surprised. I'm not sure many are surprised, especially when the constituency was not a stronghold either. If it was like a stronghold of the NDC or the NPP and it went the other way, many would have been surprised. But on a normal day where no president is in place, they've done some 4-4 clean elections and won. And those who were of the view that there could be a challenge was based on issues like constant votes. And you see that the guy who lost, Solomon who lost didn't lose like shamefully. He got, I think, about 10,000 or 12,000 thereabouts.
Yeah.
Representing some people who, like we were discussing in the morning, will still ignore, not like ignore, but even if still places development as the topmost factor, like we all did, would feel that Solomon can still bring them that development as compared to Lawyer. So, yes, development was topmost. The outcome, not surprising. When you choose between the two, it is most likely that Lawyer is the one proximate to the source of development and therefore could bring the development to them faster than Solomon. So it's an expectation and an outcome that is within the normal frame.
Prof, I'll stay with you a little longer. If you look at the numbers, considering the fact that people have said the NDC is still enjoying really goodwill, it's just about 8 months since they came to office. The numbers, a little over 15,000 for Solomon and also a little over 18,000 for Bernard Bediako, who is the MP elect as of yesterday. Just about maybe 2,000 votes. Did you anticipate that the number, do you describe this as a tight win, or this is a good number to say that a person won graciously? First of all, how would you describe the difference?
I would describe it as a tight win because that is how the constituents have demonstrated their pattern ever since. In fact, when you take out Honorable Alhaji Muhammad Eswa, 1996, and you take out Honorable Mercedes Jensi, 2016, where they did 57% plus, both of them. The rest have always hovered around this percentage.
Prof, but for the MSA, they said that there was voter fatigue. People were just tired of Baba Jamal, and that's why they gave her that landslide back. But for this one, who are they tired of already?
Oh, well, for every election, there could be those local reasons assigned to it, but we at the number end look at the eventual outcome.
Okay.
So, like this one, people can say, oh, he's not in a better position to bring us the development that we need, so let's go with Toya. In Baba Jamal's case, they could give a reason, local one. But at the end of the day, the numbers are the ones based on which the EC will declare irrespective of whatever related to that thing down there. So, yes, it may be true, voter fatigue and all those may be true, but I mean, eventually, our and court won with a match similar to or even above a larger 90. So that is the record.
Okay. The network is not very kind to us this morning. Whilst we try to fix that, I'll come to you, Dr. Sasanti. So the NPP, it's not like the numbers in Parliament is encouraging already. Now the NDC has snatched one. The numbers are further dwindling. In another by-election, for the NPP, what message do you think this should be sending to them?
Akwatia, you remember I did tell you yesterday that this election is hinged on two tests. One, the test of resilience of the NPP and the test of declining goodwill of the NDC. And you saw that NDC goodwill is increasing with amazing rapidity. But that of what the NPP is declining. So it gives them homework that they need to put their house in order to be able to fight and fight head on. If you look at the constituency, which is a toss-up, like what we experienced yesterday, one would have thought that all factors being equal, NPP would have carried the day. But events took a different turn and we saw the result. So all in all, the NPP need to set up and work very hard. Yes, their numbers are dwindling, but they are still a force to reckon in Parliament, even though their numbers doesn't favor them. That aside, Prof says something, and I want to also share my view on that. He talks about the fact that in events like this, when we lose an MP, he prefers us to look at a model that we don't go into, such a contest. Yes, I respect Prof view, but I differ a little bit. My difference is in the fact that, look, the whole issue is issue of violence. And that if we cure it with this approach, now people will transfer it to the main election, because our main elections have not been devoid of violence. So the bottom line, the crust of the matter is what? The issue of violence. How do we deal with it head on? And for me, that is the real issue that confronts the state. Yet, Prof formula can work, but what about if it is transferred to what? The main election. What do we do? Because main election, we've seen violence upon violence, and it has not stopped. And this stems from the fact that every time when we see violence in this country, we are worried in an election that there is violence. But as soon as we go past the election, we go to sleep. The next level, the next election, people take the violence to another level. And then in another election, they take it toward another, and so on and so on. And it creates a problem, right? Let's start from 1992. We saw violence. People would look at it, and then they said, look, we are not interested in all these. And then we move on to 1996 and all that. People now were using macho men to come and disrupt elections. People snatch ballot boxes. Then we saw the issue of vigilantes coming in. And then now we saw Techiman, people were shot at close range because they want to exercise their franchise and all that. So because we are not able to deal with violence head on, for each election, we move from one difficult epoch to another, and so forth and so on. So I would want the state to reflect on how we deal with violence head on. Otherwise, we can have all manner of formulas or models. At the end of the day, we will transfer the violence from one end to the other. Okay. Let me also move on to look about the issue of messaging. I left one thing.
Let me have Prof respond to...
I don't want to lose my thought. Let me finish it, then you can come in.
Okay.
The issue of what? Sympathy vote. You recall that the NPP message was that let us maintain the work of, the late MP. By honoring him, let us maintain his position, vote for NPP, and then we will continue the work that the MP left off. Sympathy. And I told you that in the literature, sympathy is not one of the reasons why people vote the way they do. It's the bread and butter issue in this country. And you see, yesterday I was very emphatic on that. It has proven. Were they sympathetic to, the NPP in terms of the fact that we have lost the MP? No. Yes, they share in the grief of the family, and we also associate with that. But look, a hungry man is an angry man. He's looking for food, nothing more, nothing else. He's not looking for any other thing. I am a farmer. I produce my crops, and I want a place to sell. And somebody promises me that. I will gravitate towards that than also say that, oh no, we have lost an MP. I should be sympathetic. So sympathy do not have a place in electoral choices.
Okay.
If it has anything, it is just minute. And my last bit, then I know Prof want to come in, and then the conversation becomes interesting, is the issue of the spoiled ballots. You recall, one of the areas recorded about 390 something, almost 400. And if you put all together, it was more than what the LPG got. There is a problem here, a problem of voter education. And I was very much worried because if you look at literacy rate of the people of Akwatia, it's a little high. Yeah. So one would have expected an improved way of voting than we recording this. There is a national problem about spoiled ballot. And sometimes the spoiled ballot put together, the aggregate will give you a better result than even the smaller parties in this country. There is a study which have chanced upon that and all this. And that aside, I was also very much worried about NPP people going around pulling out posters on walls and all that in places where it was supposed to be a earmark for the voting. Yes, that was totally wrong. It was wrong in the first place on the part of Electoral Commission not to be able to clear all the party symbols from the place that they earmark for voting. and that it took what the political actors, the competitors themselves to go and pull it down. If you do that, you are going to open yourself for what? Attacks and all that. I was expecting them, the NPP, to report the matter to what? The police and electoral officers, and they will find a way of doing it. Going forward, I think we should be able to what? Up our game and right all the wrongs so that we create a better enabling environment for everybody and for election to thrive.
Well, Prof, I'm certain that you may have taken note of a few things you want to respond to, but specifically, I'd like us to stay on that very important module that you have been discussing. I recall that you started this argument weeks even before the by-election yesterday. So, but for the cost that we incur during by-elections, will the module be okay?
Not only the cost, the tension. You can't monetize the tension. Look, deploying 8,000 men and women for one constituency. And if, in fact, we can deploy the same number to every constituency in general elections, there will be peace like we had in Akwatia. But it's not possible. The whole total population of our police force, if I know, should be maybe 28. I don't know if it's 30,000 yet. And how many constituencies do we have? So that's one part of the issue. The other part is ask yourself, what value does it add after going through this sanction, expending this amount just to maintain peace in one constituency? That is the crux of the matter. And the fact also is that in some democracies, this model I'm talking about works for them. So we have to look at what works for us. Because look, election is costly. Election is costly. So it's not just the violence. And in fact, I will argue that perhaps this time there was no violence only because of the force that was demonstrated by the police force. And you know how much it cost to keep 8,000 men and women on the ground for 5 days or 1 week? That is the issue. So I'm saying that we should give serious consideration to that. So it's not only the violence that is the sole argument for this. I think I can sense that, and people argue strongly that when it comes to representation, there should be direct representation, and I respect that. But we also know that there's what we call indirect representation, which is practiced in many other democracies.
Prof, is our democracy strong enough? Is our democracy, or we as a people, do we understand? Do you think we are the level that can understand the indirect representation?
Indirect. Sorry. Indirect representation is simple. I think Dr. Asante can tell you. In South Africa, the president is elected indirectly. That is to say, there's no popular vote for the president. It's only the party that wins majority that chooses the president. Even in America, that we used to admire in terms of their democratic practice, the president is not elected directly. That's why Hillary Clinton could not become president. She won what we call the popular vote. But the Electoral College, constituted separately by the states, is the one who made her lose. In the same way with the Clinton's vice president. In fact, even the court came into that matter. So we have different types of it. Right. And I don't think we can discredit any of them, so far as the people understand and accept it.
Oh, Prof, I'll come back to you on what kind of parliament. It's quite obvious the NDC has got the majority in parliament, but you can obviously see that the NPP's numbers dwindling by the day. I will come back to you to see if anything will change at all. What kind of parliament are we looking to see when it resumes? But I'll come to you, Professor Smart. So the NPP, you know that 5 presidential candidate aspirants have picked up their forms. But most importantly, people have said that this is a reflection of the 2024 election for the NPP and particularly for Bawumia. If you put the numbers together as of yesterday, what does this mean for Bawumia particularly and the NPP as a whole?
Well, so let me quickly add my voice to the conversation that just ended. I've heard many raise that issue of perhaps simply replacing the person who left with a member of his party. Once it's been discussed, I feel that we need an in-depth analysis or position paper on it, looking at the various nooks and crannies. Because, I mean, you ask yourself, for an instance where the member of parliament is an independent candidate, will it be who replaces him? Is it the next of kin, or is only in that condition that we call for election? If it is an NDC, NPP, those two parties we know are very well formidable, and they may have some means of replacing their candidate if we grant them that opportunity. But in the instance of an independent candidate, who then replaces that? And the entire spirit of representation is usually not about the party. It's about the individual. Representation, seriously, is about the party. So if you check Akwatia, the constituency in question now, you realize that there are about 75 polling stations where continuously or consistently NPP wins the presidential election. And in fact, on record, with the exception of 1996, where NDC won the presidential election, President Rawlings, all the elections that has come from 2000 to 2024, the presidential was won by the NPP's presidential candidate, whoever it was. All right? But you see, within this same period, the seats do, in terms of the parliamentary seats, still do go left and right. NDC winning about 4 of them within the same period. Okay, so representation, the member of parliament election representation has proved to be more of the individual that contests than the party. All right, so we can have a discussion. I see my senior Asante on a different position, Prof is another position, and his concerns are genuine: security, money, expenditure, and all those things. But the representation itself, from where I said, it's not about the political party that sponsors the candidate, but it's about the candidate itself. And a typical constituency under study is the Akwatia we are talking about, where continuously presidential elections have gone for the NPP's presidential candidate. But within the same period, parliamentary has kept swinging, moving from one political party's representative to the other. So we can have the discussion in another day. But to the general NPP, I think I affiliate with what Dr. Asante said. They need to regroup, quickly go back, regroup. I see they have experimented the consensus bit. Yesterday we were discussing that while the NDC did an internal contest to select the candidate, the NPP went the consensus way, and that consensus was also part of democratic options, only that it is not frequently used. They've experimented that, and I think the man who came didn't do too bad. They just perhaps left some things out in respect of those traditional local considerations, where he came from, as against where the votes are. Yeah. You see that when she has been the World Bank of the NPP for quite some time, but these candidates are not coming from Wenchi, perhaps could be a reason why their numbers went down in Wenchi and all those things. So a lot of lessons must be learned. And when you superimpose it onto the general national contest they are going through, I think they do not really relate. There are two different levels. Like I've said, the presidential bit is always different from the parliamentary bit. As for the presidential bit, I see the 5 men contesting today as all fit for the job. One day when the opportunity comes, we will do their strength, weakness, threat, opportunities analysis. We will do that one on your show one day with you. Okay. Then we leave it for the delegates to decide.
I hear researchers like you, political scientists, have said that the NPP needs to regroup. I see that they're regrouping. What kind of regrouping again are you anticipating they should?
No, you see, okay, so let me give you 2 instances. There was a fire outbreak in Kumasi. They call the place Blue Light, a very massive fire outbreak. Then Kumasi being one of the strongholds of the NPP, the NPP decided to come to the aid of these affected people. Kennedy Japan will come all by himself with his team and goes. The other camps, Bawumia will come by himself, do what he needs to do with them, and then goes. Then another person comes by himself. Members of Parliament comes by themselves, all within the NPP, But they decided to come there on separate occasions. It tells you they are not one unit.
Okay.
I mean, for want of a better word. Else, they would have to present themselves as one unit. And that is what I mean by regrouping. And we saw that affecting them somehow in the 2024 election, if not massively. So they really need to regroup, see themselves as one unit. Let's have these leaders, top 5, appear and present themselves as a united front in their words and in their actions. That would facilitate their regrouping very, very faster. And then they can forge towards the main election coming 2028.
Okay. I will come to you, Professor Jabendia, on the kind of parliament. I recall in the 8th parliament, there was a huge challenge because there was something we described as a hung parliament. It was as though we weren't making progress at all in parliament, constant debates, not agreeing to policies. And then we enter the 9th parliament where there is super majority, with the minority constantly feeling that they're not being heard as part of proper democracy. Now it's even dwindling further. What kind of parliament are you anticipating? Many have described that the minority specializes in walkouts. They stage walkouts because they feel that they're not being heard in parliament. Is this going to help in any way?
Not at all, not in my opinion. Walkouts, by the way, has been part of parliamentary practice over the decades of this republic. So walkout is not new. But of course, at times, the party will resort to it when it's not even necessary. The fact that we're in a micro minority, as people say, should not lead you to be walking out unduly. Because it's important, even as a minority, micro minority, to participate in the debates of critical issues. After all, that's why you are elected, to go and represent your people. So it's important that your people see you participating fully in the parliamentary matters. It is true that for the first time we are having a very lopsided party representation in parliament, and maybe for a good reason, because we all conclude that the past 8 years were not the best. People were frustrated, and they decided accordingly to change. So this is a fine opportunity for the NDC to do what is best for the country, because they have the votes to carry any kind of legislation they want. It's also good for the president, especially since he's during his last term, to take that opportunity to make a mark on this country in terms of the boldness with which he should attack certain issues that are very important to the people. So in that respect, that lopsidedness is advantageous and it's good. On the other side, it's also important to say that the majority we must have a responsible majority. The fact that you have overwhelming numbers does not mean that you take advantage of that to, push measures that are inimical to the progress of the totality of the country. So it has two sides. And I think that the minority must find a way to cooperate because they are in a very bad shape. They are in a very, very bad shape. Listening to my friends, clearly they need to regroup. And I think that regrouping should start within Parliament because that's where they are fully represented. And if they are not able to have effectiveness in the way they play their minority role, it can even backfire. People can become more frustrated and angry with them. So I think there must be a responsible minority in terms of how they carry themselves and deal with issues that come to the floor because, after all, we are seeking to make this country a better place for all of us. And the Parliament plays a critical role in that. So without that kind of awareness of the responsibilities of both the minority and the majority, I think we may see the minority being wiped off even worse than what they've experienced already.
Well, Kwame Pianin believes same, says that if the NPP doesn't regroup immediately and re-strategize, they may end up, and sadly, he cites parties such as the CPP and other parties that were quite popular but became as the standard they are now. But Dr. Asante, let me come to you, and finally for you would be on this topic is, do you think that the NDC can sustain the level of expectations? Because this vote or this election clearly confirms the goodwill, but also heightens expectations that, of course, we're giving you more of our confidence. Can they sustain it? And politically, how long do you think they can sustain this?
They have no choice. They bargained for it. They got it. Now they have to demonstrate to the good people of this country that they have what it takes to deliver. No excuse, no corners that they are in to cut. No, we want nothing but what results. The way they booted out the NPP from office, if they are not able to live up to expectation, they are going to experience the same fate in 2028. That is a fact. And I am happy that Ghanaians also watch the political space and reward and punish people accordingly. So that system is going to continue for a very long time. If Ghanaians want to maintain the status quo, they have no choice than to work well. But let me also add to what my seniors have said relative to reorganizations of the party and all that. Kwame Nkrumah said, he said, organization decides everything. The NPP must go to the drawing board and organize themselves well. And how do they organize themselves? The first thing is to go back to their own election survey, the post-election survey that they did, the lessons that they could pick from the report, and then begin to work on that. That is the first point that will help them to address some of their problems. And of course, come to Parliament, as Prof said, and then work in Parliament as representatives of our people. You know, there are duties of an MP. And one of the duties of an MP is that you are not only a representative of the people, you represent their interests, their views, their aspirations. You serve as a link between the people and government. And that is why we give them all the support to go back to their constituent, talk to them, interact with them, get their views, and then table it on the floor of Parliament, and for it to be sent to government for redress.
Okay.
They should not lose sight of this fact, and that it is their duty. And above all, the deliberative role of Parliament, that the issue that confront us, yes, walk away or walkouts are part of our strategies, but you must sit in to deliberate on issues. It's your core mandate. Once they lose this, people will not forgive them, and it becomes a raw material for campaign against them in the next election. And above all, when they get all these things right and they are going for election, they must be guided by what I call the four canons: your RSMM, your resource, your strategy, your manifesto, and your message. When they are able to get them together, I believe they should be able to smile at the end of the day. But when they fail this, then I'm afraid they will have their fingers bent.
Well, Prof. Smart, this will be finally for you, especially on the Akwatia by-elections. If any NPP, for example, if Solomon still is eyeing the seat, what differently should he be doing?
Well, so admittedly, he came in unprepared. And so if he has to get the opportunity again, he would have to use the period to prepare properly, get in touch with his own people properly. He would have studied this particular outcome and see where he expected to do much, but the outcome proved different. Go back there, relate to the people well, do his own internal research to find out what were some of the issues that worked for him and against him, and then take deliberate steps to correct those ones in his favor. That is if he is going to be the next candidate at the next election. He really would have had a good time to work on things that worked against him. And that is where I have a challenge with these politicians. Sometimes they let the fallow period, the period for them to prepare, rather, they let it go waste. And you see them only active when the time is near. So what do they do from now to maybe 2028, knowing very well that 2028 there will be general elections? There is a chart, a standard chart in literature where you need to prepare 4 years to election, 2 years to election, 1 year to election, let's say 1 month, 2 months, even up to 2 days to election. I wonder whether our Ghanaian politicians use it. Usually they wait till the time is near and then you see them rushing everything onto the election year within like 3 months or so to election. So he has a very good period to do his homework well. He shouldn't be hurt or be angry at his own people. That would be extremely unfortunate. Yes, you told them, they promised you, but this is the eventual outcome. Go thank them, relate well with them, do a study to find out where they fell out with you, especially for areas you were expecting to do well, but it turned out to be different. When you have the temperament, when you are matured enough to accept that, oh, these are my own people, I thought they were going to vote for me, they didn't. Let me go relate with them, find out what... You see, sometimes some politicians will go and say, but I gave this thing to you. If you didn't vote for me, give my thing back to me. That is immaturity, serious. So you should demonstrate... Conduct an independent study into how things went, especially for areas he felt he was going to do well, but eventually did not do well, and take steps to correct it within this period. If he gets the opportunity in 2028, he should have put in things in place to do better than now.
Right. Thank you so much, Prof. I'll let you have your morning. Thank you so much for joining us on
Good morning, Akwatia. Thank you so much.
Right. So, Professor Ajimendua and also Dr. Sasanti, you stay with me because surely you may have heard or known that President Mahama, in an unprecedented development, has removed the Chief Justice Isaba Tokono from office following recommendations from the committee set up to investigate acts of misdemeanor. And I'm just going to read to you that statement that was signed by Minister for Government Communication, Felix Kwachufusu. It says that President Dramani Mahama has, in accordance with Article 146 clause 9 of the 1992 Constitution, removed the Chief Justice, Lady Chief Justice Gertrude Iraba Isaba Saki Tokono, from office with immediate effect. Now, this follows receipt of the report of the committee constituted under Article 146 Clause 6 to inquire into a petition submitted by a Ghanaian citizen, Mr. Daniel Ofori. After considering the petition and the evidence, the committee found that the grounds of stated misbehavior under Article 146 Clause 1 had been established and recommended her removal from office under Article 146 Clause 9. The President is required to act in accordance with the committee's recommendation. Prof, surely you have heard this, you've seen this, and you have followed this. What are your initial comments?
Well, I'm not surprised at all at the decision of the President to remove the Chief Justice, because I think this is something the party and himself wanted, and they got it. Because if you look at the party, the NDC, during the campaign, it was stated publicly, not only by the flag bearer, who is now the president, but also by some stalwarts of the party, that when they come to power, the Chief Justice will be removed. It was stated clearly. And that reminds me of the same situation when the NPP was in opposition. And they, including Akufo-Addo, who was the flag bearer, and some of his stalwarts, also indicated that when they come to power, they will remove the chairperson of the Electoral Commission. And I'm citing this to create a context for me for how dangerously we are treading in terms of how our independent institutions ought to be protected in order to have trust. We don't have to politicize certain key institutions of governance so that people can continuously have trust and believe in the role that they play in a democracy. So, towards the elections, actually, there was a program at the I think, Kempinski, sponsored by IDEC. And I happened to be a speaker there. I think Cardinal Texan was there and all. And I made a point then, before even the elections, that President Akufo-Addo has made a very dangerous, he has set a dangerous precedent by removing Charlotte Osei. And I still stand by that statement that I made. And that is what seems to have opened this gateway for chief political actors to begin to work the way they are working with independent institutions. In fact, yesterday we were told that the NDC has not finished yet in terms of people that they intend to remove. And I guess it will be the electoral commissioners, and even I think a petition has already been sent to the president. So my main concern here is not necessarily what has happened to the former Chief Justice, but my concern is more with the institutions that we must protect in order to ensure, effective administration of our democratic system. And the Chief Justice and her court, again, during the rule of NPP, you recall the then Minister for National Security, Kandapa, making a point that, look, if the court continuously rule in favor of one side, that will be a threat to security. I hope you recall that statement that Kandapa made. You see, I'm citing all this to really create a context for this, because I think if we are not careful, we are driving ourselves needlessly to a situation where the respect for our democratic system can be seriously upended, undermined, if I should say. Okay, so my reaction, as I say, certainly for me, I wasn't surprised, because they stated it clearly before the election that they would do that, and they've done it. But I'm looking at the repercussions, how this really affects the balance of power amongst the three key institutions of governance: the executive, the legislature, the judiciary, and the independence that they are supposed to have in order to ensure effective checks and balances. And for me, if the executive decides to attack one, then there's a danger there. I'm not saying that if a Chief Justice runs amok, he should just be allowed to stay on. There are rules for that. But if you look at the petitions and all, I think it seems to be setting a very low threshold. Even though I've heard another very brilliant public commentator saying that, in fact, low threshold of accountability is good for democracy. Yes, but not when it comes to such important institutions. So I guess my point, and I'm sure we're going to continue the discussions further, is that my initial point is that I wasn't surprised at all. It was engineered, just like Akufo-Addo got somebody to send a petition. As we speak, I don't know even what that somebody is. And he claimed then that he's just a conveyor belt. Akufo-Addo said it publicly. I'm just a conveyor. I don't want my president to become a conveyor belt. I want my president who thinks and decides far beyond what he's confronted with in terms of the securing the long-term stability and progress of the country. So I don't want people to say, yesterday I had a very respectable legal educator using the same argument that Akufo-Addo used, that I and many others condemn, that you cannot say you're a conveyor belt. And that person used the same argument that Mahama is just a conveyor belt. Of course, he went rightly on the constitutional path. Nobody can fault the president. He followed exactly as the rule says in the Constitution. So he hasn't done wrong on that. But as I say, I don't want people to think that my president should be simply a conveyor belt, but not someone who looks beyond
Well, Prof, then let me stay with you on this. It would have my initial question would have been that, but for the comments the president made and some of his political members made before the election, you would say that procedurally he has not done anything wrong. This is what I hear you say.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
Okay.
Because that's exactly the same thing Akufo-Addo said.
Okay. So what is the challenge? And is it the implementer of the law, or there's something fundamentally wrong with the law or the procedure as outlined in Article 146, especially because former Chief Justice Sophia Akufo as well has said that it's particularly not who is sitting at the position, but she finds something fundamentally wrong with the processes that are outlined in Article 146. What's wrong? The person who says is a conveyor belt, or the law that made him the conveyor?
I really will go straight to the system that allows this kind of thing to happen. And I think a few days ago, another respectable public commentator has repeated what I have written and published, because when this case started, I put something out there on the platforms and all, simply saying that the system of selecting or appointing our president must be reviewed. It should be taken away from the executive. The president should not be appointing chief justices, especially if we are arguing on the basis of the balance of power. And my fear in this country is that we are not careful. And by the way, yesterday also, I heard some NPP stalwarts also saying, look, when we come to power, the chief justice will be sacked. Look at this. And look, we got to be serious with ourselves. You see, that's really, I'm concerned about this. So we can decide, especially since we have already ongoing process to review the Constitution, we must think seriously about reviewing this aspect to take away from the executive the appointing of chief justices. And if we want a good example, go to Kenya, not Europe or America. Go to Kenya and see how they elect or select their chief justices. They have insulated the whole process away from the executive, precisely because of the issues I'm raising and the challenges that we are facing. Okay. We don't want that. So there are ways to do it.
Dr. Sasansi, I'll come to you shortly, but permit me, I'll stay with Prof a little longer. Prof, so one of the arguments as well is that the bar that has been set for stated misconduct or misbehavior it's not too clear. And so what is stated misbehavior? But if you look at the findings that was presented to the president upon which he must act, is that, well, some of the expenditure were quite unlawful. Now, the Auditor General is the one that cites that these expenditures at the Judicial Service by her travels with her family and all, though they are also guided by the travel policy of the Judicial Service, they cite it as not a proper use of public funds. And I recall that her lawyer, former Attorney General Aiko Otu, argues that why won't she be surcharged instead of removed, because then the bar is low. But my question to you really is, if the Auditor General cites this as not a proper use of public funds and she's even surcharged, would that not be an admission to the fact that she has conducted herself wrong?
Well, earlier you said that perhaps the threshold is too low, and also the definition of misbehavior is also nebulous in the Constitution. It's true. Misbehavior, anything can be, because if it's a matter of expenditure, overspending, or misappropriating, whatever the term is, if the Auditor General was to go into the executive's expenditures, they will see perhaps bigger ones. That's the reality. Bigger ones. And I'm very happy what President Mahama has just done. You know, towards the UN General Assembly, he's made a statement that nobody should be going without approval. You know why? Because the practice has been at the executive level, sending hundreds of people to the UN during this General Assembly opinion, doing practically nothing. It's an opportunity for the civil servants to make extra money because they give them big per diems. I know that for a fact because I have friends who've been taking advantage of this. I mean, look, over expenditure or misappropriating state funds, then almost all public officials will be out of office. And I can say that because I know what goes on in government. You see. So anyway, sure. If the Chief Justice has been caught overspending or misappropriating or whatever, sure. But now I don't know whether this should have been a strong case enough. Maybe it is in terms of morality or ethics in government and law. We can use those arguments to justify that.
Okay.
There's a general problem in our country we need to fix. And I think President Mahama is gradually doing that, especially by his announcement stopping frivolous travels by public officials.
Okay.
You know? So for me, it's not here, neither here nor there.
Dr. Sasante, I'll let you come in now. Is this rule of law or just bad precedent?
I think I'll commend Prof for setting the foundation for this conversation. He made reference to the threats that political actors, our leaders, have, issued to us. When I come to office, I'll do this. And they come and they execute exactly that. He has done so well. So let me build from where he left off. I will look at let me answer your question and move straight away into other things. Is it what? A rule of law or what?
Bad precedent.
It is rule of law. I am not a lawyer, but my understanding of rule of law is that it is, a practice which has two components: equality before the law and due process. The equal subjection of all men and women to a law is one component, and that nobody is seen to be above the law. And the other bit of it is that any decision you take must reflect the laws of the land. On that score, you realize that let us judge how the whole process went through relative to the dictates of Article 146, that there must be what? A prima facie case. There was. There must be, Council of State looking at that. There was. There must be a committee set and all that. They followed. And up to date, nobody has been able to fault the process. It tells you that what they went through was nothing but what? The process. You also recall that the rights of the Chief Justice to challenge this process was also triggered as he went toward the Supreme Court on a number of occasions. Of course, did not win anything there. And he moved on to ECOWAS Parliament. That's part of the institutional processes he went through. It tells you that all in all, democracy was at work. The Constitution was working. All right. Now, the committee has finished its work, and the president comes in with the final requirement on his part to what? Deliver the committee's reports, which we have also seen that. If you put all in all, nobody can fault the president. Nobody can fault the process. The process has gone through as the Constitution dictates. But it brings us, if you look at it in general, and the problems that people have, some of which the Prof has also alluded to, the issue of the threshold. People argue that the threshold is so low and all that. And I ask myself that over the years, we have had governments that have come to office, change part of our laws, our rules of engagement, but they forgot about 146 and it continued to stay intact in our books. So the question is, permit me to use this expression of young people, now who calls them? They've seen this. One would have thought that they would take steps to deal with 146 and make it elaborate and, raise the bar so that it becomes a standard. Look at the president, the provision that touches on impeachment of the president. It's such a high bar that the framers of the Constitution made it so. What prevented us from following that example and strengthening 146? You recall that immediately this process was triggered, Ayariga, the majority leader, hinted of its government intention to look at this provision and then what? Do something about it. And I asked myself, why now? Now that we are seeing the effect, I was so surprised that all the political actors went to sleep and allow 146 to remain in our book with that low threshold. And now they have used that one to ask Charlotte Osei. They have used that one to also what? Get the Chief Justice away. Now people are complaining. And why do we complain when we knew that this very provision was problematic and then needed to what? Address that? Prof also reminded us about what Kandapa's statement that he made, which is very, very, very important. That this was a statement not coming from any other person, but the National Security Minister. We went to bed with this. And today, the cat is out of the bag, and we are here complaining. People will tell you that, look, it undermines the spirit and letter of democracy. I disagree with respect. Why? Look, democracy, there's no doubt, is driven by institutions. When you don't have institutions, democracy is gone and gone forever. But that doesn't mean that institutions are not allowed to work. And when we say institutions, what are we talking about? The rules, the regulations, the procedures, the norms. All right. If any human being in this country, or particularly if you occupy public office, you owe it what? A duty to make sure that your conduct, your operations fall within the remit of what? The institution. Here, I'm talking about the rules of the game. If you go beyond it, obviously, whether the threshold is low or high, you'll be judged by it. Right. And that is the spirit behind democracy. Democracy is anchored on rule of law. And that within that democratic space, nobody is above the law. It will be used as a standard to measure your conduct. But that aside, we also talk about the issue of Prof was worried about issue of institutions, which I agree with him. Look, once you bastardize institutions that drive democracy, democracy grinds to a halt. And we should, over the years, if we pay attention to reports from the think tank, i.e. the CDD, warning us about what? Institutional breakdown and weakness, we have gone to sleep about all these reports because we got them free. ICDD and Prof will tell you how much they spend in conducting survey and all that. But when these things are churned out, people do not make use of them because they have not spent money on that.
Right.
But they are useful information that we need to shape the contours of our governance to make it better. Okay. There are means of looking at how you want to appoint Chief Justice, and Prof also talk about the fact that we can look elsewhere, which I agree with him. All right, look at the Gambian experience, where they even select Chief Justice from people from outside their country. Right. Some Ghanaian judges have gone there to occupy the position of Chief Justice. Why are we caught up in this web? Also, the Electoral Commission. There is also the other examples where some countries appoint the electoral commissioner from outside the country. What about that? All right. We seems to always create a situation that puts us in a very tight corner. Right. And then we come back to complain. I don't see the complaint. The real complaint is that we allow Article 146 to stay all this while. And now we have our fingers bent. Well,
Prof, I'll let you have the final bite to this particular conversation. And it will be that really, you have mentioned that the constitutional review is ongoing. So it's an opportunity for us to look at some of the things that's in the Constitution, as we appreciate that the Constitution will mirror the aspirations of a people at a particular time. But is this to suggest that every time we review our Constitution, it has to be done frequently?
Not at all. I mean, Constitution is not somebody who has written an essay for my good Professor Dr. Asante to review and correct and replace. No, not at all. Constitution cannot be toyed with.
The one that people outlive it at a particular point, then we may have to ask for a review then. For example, after the review, after 30 years, will say that it doesn't mirror our aspirations, and so we have to sit
Precisely.
together.
After 30 years, 3 decades, I think that's about time. Especially we have experienced so many hiccups, we have experienced so many challenges and all, and that is the guide for the review that we are asking about. Because this conversation for us is very important. And there are so many other aspects of the Constitution that I believe the committee is looking at. So I think it's time. And I think there should be some kind of a unified support for this, especially the political parties. You see, it by themselves, no political party will review what benefits. And certainly this Constitution, because it concentrates power so much at the center, in one person, the president, they like it that way. Because if you win, you have everything for yourself. So I guess my point is that the review is just timely, and President Mahama really set it up. And I believe that his whole heart is behind them, and that whatever they propose, if it reflects the general sentiments of people, I'm sure the president will support it.
Right. Prof, thank you so much for spending your morning with us and getting into all of the issues. And Dr. Sasanti as well, thank you so much. You spent your yesterday plus your morning with us here on the show. Please stay with us. You're watching the AM show this morning.
The last time I dealt with the bailiff. Now, this bailiff later on apparently goes to my office.
You're watching the AM show, and thank you for staying with us. And this is the big one. Now, the NDC has snatched the Akwatia seat from the NPP in a keenly contested by-election. Well, what does this mean for the NPP as their numbers keep dwindling in Parliament in yet another by-elections? And most importantly, for the Bawumia campaign, that seems to be in a pole position in the upcoming presidential race. Should they be worried? Let's just analyze this. And joining me is everybody's favorite Dr. EcoBank, Deputy Spokesperson, Bawumia campaign. How are you feeling the morning after? You're wearing black. Are you mourning?
Before, good morning. How am I feeling? I guess we're all very disappointed by what happened yesterday. But it's very important that we look at it in a wider context. It was quite a tricky election going into it in the first place. The history itself suggests that it's quite difficult for opposition parties to win by-elections, especially very early on in the government. So it was a tough one. But I think it's clear that all the executives and both national and constituency who were present in Akwatia, all the party supporters and patriots that were on the ground did a very good job, and so they deserve some commendation for that. The only thing I would want to say is that we don't beat ourselves too much over this, and we don't let it keep our spirits down, because there's definitely more to come. And so we just have to focus on our rebuilding processes so that we can continue to provide a formidable alternative for the Ghanaian people, so that, in 2028, we can then be given a chance to execute our vision for the progress of Ghana.
Well, but did you anticipate the kind of losing? First of all, you've appreciated that it is quite difficult for an opposition party to win this. And I recall this is true because in the third parliament, your party was in government and you won all, I think, 6 or 7 by-elections that happened. And so I appreciate that, but it's just 8 months into the new government. I would have thought that the NPPs, the voters who loved NPP still existed. They were willing in it and probably want to make things right. Did you anticipate that you will lose despite the ground rules?
When you're going into an election, especially as a politician, you have to brace for all the possible outcomes. When going into any election, there's no such thing as a draw, even like if you want to compare it to soccer. You are either going to win or you are going to lose. So, of course, we had braced for both possibilities. But I was quite pleased, even I couldn't be in Akwatia myself personally, but the videos, even just by monitoring the media, it was obvious that the love for the party was returning. The people of Akwatia seemed to truly be in support of our candidates, Asumedu, and the party. So I was quite pleased with that because it looked like the love was returning indeed. Even though we didn't get the outcome that we would have wanted, we respect the decision of the people of Akwatia. We know that the NDC went in there with a lot of lofty promises, just as they usually do. They started registering people for the apprenticeship program just in the week in the lead up to the by-election. They started constructing roads. Our position as an opposition party is to ensure that the people of Akwatia get what they were promised by the certain government over this by-election. We hope the roads are not left to rot, they are not left in a terrible state. We hope that the people that have been registered for the apprenticeship program, they are actually seen through and they are able to be able to make something out of their lives. That's our hope and focus now. And moving forward, you know, today is a new day. The election was yesterday. It's very important that we continue to focus on our rebuilding process because we cannot dispute the fact that over the last 8 months, I mean, from the last part of 2024, the party has received a few blows that can be very hurtful if you are a true believer or a true supporter of the party. So I do understand that a lot of people are hurt by this. I would just want to use this platform again to tell them that, you know, this shouldn't dampen our spirits. There's way more ahead that can be done. Even just to give an example to set people's mind at ease, in Tripoli in 2009, after we lost the election, there was a by-election there that was occasioned by the death of our candidate as well. And, you know, just because of the dynamics and everything, it was also something we lost. What this means is that we should take lessons out of this and just come back better. That is as simple as that. And knowing the NDC the way we know them, I know very well that in a year or two, we'll go to Akwatia and these, we want to check on the progress of the apprenticeship that they use to sway votes. We would want to check the progress of the roads. But indeed, Akwatia is a swing state. So they've also held the seat almost as long as we have. So this is a point where they need to start seeing some development.
So the NPP not do anything hoping that they would win? Did you not have a message you're hoping that people of Akwatia will believe in? And why do you think that everything that the NDC did was to sway them, but your promises?
Oh, the truth is we both go into an election with a heavy message to be able to win the hearts and minds of people. That's something that's done across the board. But the haste with which everything was done is what leaves some doubts in my mind, and because we've seen some of these things happen. Again, I'm sitting here hoping for the best for the people of Akwatia.
Did this not happen in Ascent South?
In our last by-election, yeah, but I think the roads were completed. So it's about seeing through.
You want to see after what would happen after.
It's about seeing through the lofty promises that were made. It's as simple as that. So if it's not that it's a 9-day wonder, you went to put equipment, the drip equipment on the road, just to win their votes, and after it's left bare. That's the situation we do not want to see, because indeed the people of Akwatia have made their choice, and we have to respect it as a party.
As a party, the day after, how are you feeling really?
I think there's a general.
Do you have a deja vu of 2024?
I can't even lie. Last night was a little reminiscent, and you know, after the 2024 defeat, it was on Saturday. On Monday, I had an interview. I'm like, why is it always? But you know, these are things that you take in your stride as a party. The NPP as a party, if you know, you're conversant with our history, is a party that has been born out of a lot of adversity. So it is nothing new for us, and naturally, it's not something that dampens our spirits. This is just fuel for us to come back better and to aid in our rebuilding process.
Well, I hear you say that everybody goes into an election hoping to win. It's not a draw situation. A few political scientists that I've had interviews with, and I've asked them questions that, do the NPP really need this seat? Did I get the opportunity to ask you, did you need that seat at all?
I think you asked me last.
Yeah, I don't recall.
There's no seat that we do not need.
What would it matter?
You see, it is about representation. So we have always believed that we have the best interests of the people of Akwatia. So we would have loved that honor to represent them in Parliament. It's not always about a numbers game or an angle. Sometimes it's just taking pride in being the representative of the people.
It's not a test of resilience for you. You wanted to test to see how voters still feel after 2024 election.
Of course, you know, those conversations can be had, but there's, as I said, it's early days yet. We're only 8 months in. There are going to be way more opportunities for us to test our resilience as a party. But looking at everything that went on, especially as I'm saying, getting feedback from the conversations on the ground, some of the videos I saw, I was quite, you know, not too dampened by seeing that there was still love, there was still an appreciation for the party and the candidates, even though we did not win. So what this tells us is that, you know, we're on the right track with everything we are doing, but more is needed. And that has never been a problem for the party. It's usually when we are down that we're able to regroup properly and then come and behave like the party that the Ghanaian people know us to be. I think that is what is very important for us now. There's an image and a perception of what the NPP is. And over the years where things have happened and it might have diluted a bit, it's very important that we are able to present to the Ghanaian voter that image of the party that they were so proud of, that image of the party that they held in high esteem. And I do think we are on the path to achieve that, even though we've had a setback.
With this particular election?
Yes, even though we've had a setback.
You call this, you describe this as a setback?
It's a setback, of course.
What does the numbers tell you? Your candidates pulled a little over 15,000. The NDC's candidates as well pulled a little over 18,000.
So I think it was a difference of a little over 2,000 votes.
Yeah.
It shows there's a lot to be done. The turnout as well was a little low in some of the places. You know, that's where you start to wonder if the huge police presence played a role. And, you know, there's a time that we'll need to sit down as a party and sit and really try and determine what we could have done better. But I would not want to sit here and apportion blame, and I would very humbly plead with all our patriots to hold fire. This is really not the time for any form of apportioning of blame. I think everyone that was involved in the process really put out their best, and I can imagine that especially those who were in the front, people have been in Akwatia for over a month now, so the defeat would hit them, dare I say, a little harder. So to then want to apportion a lot of blame to them would not be fair. Again, it wasn't an easy thing that we were trying to achieve. You know, the historical data is there and backs the argument that it's quite difficult to win a by-election this early in a government as an opposition, because the people have that perception or mentality that to be able to get any real progress, their MP must be in the ruling government. So if that's perception and is a swing constituency, a constituency that swings both ways, then on the balance of probability, you can assume that they would want to give an opportunity to the person in government just because they believe they may get more development out of that, even though that might not necessarily be the case because everybody gets the common fund. Yeah.
If you look at the way voters vote in this country, sometimes they vote for the president and they don't vote for the member of parliament in their constituency. And I'm learning that when it comes to member of parliament, it really depends on who and who it is, how they can relate to that person.
Yes.
It may be early days, but are you taking a second look at the candidates that you presented?
I think that would be a decision for the National Council of the party. They would have to look again. But I do not think the problem was the candidate selection. In fact, I think the whole process of ensuring that that the candidate selection was done without any acrimony actually helped us to see the numbers that we saw. Because in Akwatia, historically, we've had some factions in the party. So if we didn't find a unifying candidate, that could have presented a problem for us. So I do not think in this case the candidate had anything to do with it. If anything, I could see that he had a lot of organic support on the ground.
Okay. Did you depend largely on sympathy votes? Did you think that would work at least?
Well, I think in every election, you have to look at the dynamics at play and the what you have available, the cards that you are dealt, so that you can then play it properly. The unfortunate and untimely death of Honorable Ernest Kumie was something that was a big shock to the party. And I do believe it was a big shock to the party faithful in the town of Akwatia as well. You could even tell from their reactions at the funeral and everything. But I don't think that was the main messaging going into Akwatia. I cannot say that it didn't play a role, but that wasn't the main message. It was that, look, you know, we have the capability and ability to bring development here. Even though we are in opposition, we've been with you through thick and thin, and we do believe that if you give us the opportunity, we can bring some progress and development here. And the candidate is one of them. He's well known, he's well liked. So I do believe that in 2028, he has a good chance of winning and bringing back that seat.
Let's get into how this particular election and the results may have an impact on the Bawumia campaign. And I say the Bawumia campaign, and just for clarity, of course, he's not the only person who is running or gunning to be one to the NPP's presidential candidate. There are others who have. But of course, because the argument that both the NPP and the NDC, most the NPP, the argument you have been advancing is that it's just 8 months after a government is sitting in, so it's very early days, there's goodwill for the government, and so it's not surprising when a constituency would vote for an incumbent government, right? Which will mean that people still are railing in the current government. So from 2024 into this year, it would be Bawumia that we may have to discuss and how this will impact him. Are you worried at all? Is he worried? Are you worried?
No, not essentially. You know, if you remember last week, I told you that in politics and the business of electioneering, you cannot allow defeat to weigh on your soul for too much.
But defeat can tell you the truth, give you a brighter picture.
Well, it depends, and I will argue respectfully that in this case, that is not what it is. We've won Akwatia sometimes, we've lost Akwatia sometimes. With all the things we've discussed here already, and in that context, it's not a defeat that should pose too much of a challenge to our campaign. Of course, we've always been focused on our rebuilding efforts, and we are still on that path. So it's something that we'll take into consideration, do some research, and then pivot if it's necessary. But it's not too much of a problem. All the other candidates were in Akwatia to campaign, indeed. So I've seen a few people trying to go on the unfortunate tangent of apportioning blame, but I do not want to go there. One problem we seem to be having currently is quite a divided front, which is understandable because we are going into our party primary. And if you know anything about the NPP, it's very serious business. It can get very acrimonious. So everyone seems to be doing their own thing. All of that would end after January 31st when a flag bearer is selected, and we can all then rally behind the person, and then we are all moving in one direction. So I don't think this is too much of a setback to the...
It won't let you re-strategize. You maintain the same message.
Oh, you know, with messaging, I don't see how this affects our messaging. One thing I like to say a lot is that can we just imagine how many good and credible leaders we would miss if a previous failure was a disqualification, like was a factor of disqualification. There are so many great leaders, indeed, the world and Ghana have had that have come from previous failures. In our own party history, we have President Kufuor, who had failed previously. We had His Excellency Nana Addo, who had failed a couple of times. So it's clear that having a previous failure should not be a disqualifying factor, because then we would truly have lost a lot of greats. Even some of our competitors who want to go on that tangent have suffered brutal losses themselves in the past. One person contesting in Suhum and losing about 2 or 3 times, if I'm not wrong, before moving to his current constituency. If that was a disqualifying factor, then he shouldn't have been able to contest and win as MP, but he did. And so I don't like to go on that tangent. Indeed, our current president suffered the biggest and most humiliating defeats in 2016. At that point, it had never happened before. It was something that NPP communicators, myself included, would really hammer on, like, you know, you lost by 1 million votes, keep quiet. So it was a big thing, but he was able to get himself back into the hearts of Ghanaians, and he came back in a massive style. So what this shows you is that defeats usually is just a test of resilience, and shouldn't be used as a yardstick in measuring competence, because at the end of it all, we are looking for a leader or a president who will be able to accelerate the path of progress that we are on as a country. See, the dynamics and demographics of the country has shifted a little, but young people like you and I are now beginning to be in the majority. And so there's a lot more discernment, and, you know, we're a little stubborn as well. So
have you looked at how Ernest Kumi's area, which is your stronghold in Akwatia, Wenchi and the likes, have you looked at the numbers? Do you think that NPP performed there as well?
I think we did win those polling stations, so it was...
Beyond winning, the performance in itself?
See, generally, I believe in Akwatia, and in some of the areas, the voter turnout was a little low, but I didn't quite see that in Wenchi. I don't have the numbers in front of me now.
Good you're here, Doc. It's good you're here. Did the former Vice President make any comment about what purportedly killed Ernest Kumi?
I think he described a conversation that he had with Ernest Kumi a few days before his untimely demise. That conversation might have been taken out of context a little. He was just describing what Ernest told him. And there are videos of Ernest Kumi online as well, I think on another platform, explaining himself the toll that the whole ordeal that he had gone through had taken on him. So, yeah.
The ordeal in terms of the petition in court against
everything that happened with regards to that seat. You know, the difference was not even small. It wasn't like a 200 difference that the NDC was fighting him over. At that point, it was about 2,000 votes as well. So he had to go through so much that there was a point that he had to be smuggled out of Parliament. You see, these are things that you cannot dispute or undermine.
Why did he put himself, I mean, of course, we shouldn't be talking about, they say our tradition and our culture say, don't talk about a person when they have died, but where we are. But why did he put himself in a situation where he had to be smuggled out of Parliament?
See, MFA, sometimes you have to live on principle. He had won that seat. He knew very well that he had won that seat. And in our political climate, it's sometimes you are required to fight for what you've already earned. Sadly, that's the case a lot in our parts of the world.
But winning is not secret. When you win, we know.
Yes.
We know how you win and all.
We all know that he had won, but he also had to fight to keep his place. And sadly, as I'm saying, it seems to be the case. Everybody could know this is A, but you would still get a lot of pushback on it.
Are you able to say exactly what the Vice President wanted to say? Because then I think we're becoming notorious of when a person says something, we come back to say that it was taken out of context.
Well, I think if we were able to watch that video, it would be very telling. He just narrated how the conversation he had with Ernest Kumi, how he narrated everything he had been through, and in 26 days exactly, he passed.
To what end? What was he hoping to achieve with the narration?
MFA, this is a very serious question. There's no way I can know what is in the mind of my boss or what he was trying to achieve. But I think he was just trying to remind the people of Akwatia everything Ernest Kumi had been through. And indeed, he was their immediate past member of Parliament. And that was one of the first times he was getting the opportunity to interact with Ernest Kumi's people. So it would be important to share some fond memories, or especially like the last kind of discussion that he had with Ernest Kumi before his untimely death. It's something we all do as Ghanaians, isn't it?
Are you surprised at the way the Ghanaian people have taken the comments?
I haven't really seen so much of it.
Oh, then you must have been really busy with Akwatia, hoping to win.
You know, it's a mixed bag. I've seen people, you know, explain and see the direction that the former Vice President was coming from. And again, he's not the only person that pointed out the truth. You see, MFA, in these situations, it's not like he was saying something that was factual. He was just narrating a turn of events that could have led to the untimely passing. And this person, when he was alive, is on record to have said some of these things himself. Other people, that's basically the sentiment that was on the ground in Akwatia at that point. There are several videos that we've seen, I'm sure you've also seen, of people on the ground accusing the NDC for essentially tormenting Enescumi till the point that he died. I don't know if you saw the reaction that the national chairman of the NDC received at the funeral of Enescumi. It just shows you that was the feeling and the sentiment on the ground in Akwatia as to what might have led to the death of Enescumi. Of course, we haven't seen any pathology results or whatever to know exactly what killed him at this point. It's all speculation. But if somebody is put through this ordeal for over 8 months, you know, it's not too far to assume that it would take a toll on his stress levels, and we all know the chain of events that can emanate from there. So I don't see why this should be a huge issue, because all you need, if you want to be objective about it, you might just go on TikTok and then search Enescumi. You see millions of videos of people in Akwatia, people that were close to him, you know, expressing their frustration at the NDC for everything they put him through, and the strong belief that it could have put so much stress on him. Yeah.
And so you say that yesterday's winning would have zero impact on both the Bawumia campaign, the NPP as well. You'd say that?
No, of course. It's quite easy to understand that the morale of a lot of patriots will be down. But as I already said, it's something we are going to dust ourselves off and get out of really quickly.
What kind of parliament are you envisaging when it resumes? I mean, with the number that you already had in parliament, you would always hear the minority leaders say that it's as though they're not allowing them to be expressive, to be part of decision making. They're not doing business with them the way they would want them to. Not proper representation of them.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, it's further dwindling.
Well, I don't know. You see, if events over the past 8 months have shown us anything, it is that numbers are not what is. You know, numbers are important, but the quality of the numbers are even more important. I think the numbers that we have in Parliament on the NPP minority side have shown great resilience. They've shown that they are not pushovers, and that their small number does not really affect the quality of the work they put out, because they've been on top of things, holding the feet of the fire of the government to fire, and doing their transparency and accountability duties on behalf of our great nation. So I do not think it's going to pose too much of a difference for us in Parliament. You know, we are very much aware of the position that we are fighting from. And so if you can tell, I think the strategy of our MPs has evolved to be able to take advantage of their smaller numbers in Parliament to still be able to make an impact. Again, if you looked at the history and the spirit of the NPP, it's not too much for us to be the smaller one. We are still able to fight back till the point where we are able to regroup and reclaim all the grounds that we had previously lost.
I mean, it's been days since he filed his nomination. Post that, let me in. But I'm on a lighter note, though. Yesterday, I'm sure, at what point did you know that you were losing, though? On a lighter note. At what point did you know that you were losing? And what did he say? I want to hear his lighter notes, the things he says when it is not a public speech. He say, "Hey, radio woo," and I say,
he just acknowledged that this was a tough one. His words exactly, because I think it wasn't lost on us that this would be a tough one. So those were his words exactly, that this was a tough one, and we just need to soldier on. Yeah.
Okay, but post that, what's been happening? Have you been able to, yesterday, or no, 2 days ago, I recall that the former Sotum Anya NP, Dr. Domako Kisi, was here. And one of the arguments that I advanced was that they say that for a first-timer bidding presidential candidacy, he performed very well, Bawumia. He says that, but there was no, in the history, there was none of them that was vice president ever.
Atamils was vice president.
No, for NPP, okay. The hierarchy for NPP. So his performance for him being the vice president and having to want to find the bid of being president, his performance was very poor? Because I hear the narrative, I can't pay. How do you juxtapose the sentiments of people like him and the other supporters as well?
You see, firstly, that's why I wanted to point out that if we start to use a previous defeat as a yardstick, then Dr. Adumaku Kisi's candidate himself would have also been disqualified ab initio. But that is not the expectation that Ghanaians have of us. It's very clear that 2024 was a very difficult year for all sitting governments. If you look at the data across the world, between 80 and 90% of them lost their seats in government, incumbents, that, as I say. And this can easily be explained away as, you know, in the aftermath of any sort of economic shake-up in the world, there's always casualties. And the casualties are usually the sitting governments because understandably, the population is upset and they are looking for somebody to blame. Usually that blame is laid at the foot of the incumbent government, whether you are directly culpable or not. And that's something that as politicians, we accept and we understand and we take in good faith. Because if by natural turn of events as well, something really happened and there was a boom, of course, we would also, you know, seek to take advantage of that. So if it doesn't go well as well, you take that in your stride. So that being the case, it was quite clear that it was a difficult election, and also at the end of the 8-year cycle that we know in this country. Even in the midst of all of that, His Excellency Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia was still able to secure about 42% of the total vote cast. And with this issue of Akana Empire, I remember the last time I was explaining that it actually came up out of discussions and interactions with our party's grassroots. They, you know, you go talking to them, and let me just bring in a little key here, that they would tell you that, oh, they say, and they are thinking as grassroots members of the NPP is that, you know, this is a man with good character. That is not disputable. This is a man that is clearly intelligent. It's not disputable. This is a man that is clearly the most prepared for the job, and I would go into all of these one by one. This is a man that is definitely our most formidable asset, because you look at it now, and even as far back as 2020, the NDC had set their sights on His Excellency Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia. It was Nana-Addo Bawumia government. I don't know, I've not heard anybody say John Mahama, Nana Jane government. It's not as popular. So it just shows you that even
because of the role the Vice President himself played in campaigning prior to their wedding.
Her Excellency Jane Nana also.
Of course, I acknowledge that she did, but
it's never been the case.
What is the case then?
No, it's never been the case. President Kufuor and Aliyu Mahama, the presidency or the government is never really described as a John Mahama, Aliyu Mahama government. It's something that gained great popularity on the back of His Excellency Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia. And that only happened because they knew that he was the most formidable asset of the NPP. And with all of this, it's also clear to the party grassroots that he is the one that would be able to help us to win political power at the earliest possible time. So they came up with that whole Akana Empire, or something that came out of interactions with them, that we've already sent him to the polls once. It is quite clear that in the midst of everything that happened, with all the governments falling and everything, despite that, 42% of Ghanaians woke up and went to queue to vote for His Excellency Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia. So they must believe in his vision. So our job as a party, our job as MPP now, and if we are to present Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, will be to consolidate that 42% that he got, and to then go out and then seek the support of the people that were disgruntled or for one reason or another did not really go out to vote.
What do you say to people who say that yesterday's election is a confirmation of an outright rejection of the NPP party?
I do not agree with that, because again, we've sat here and discussed the trajectory, the history, and all of that. So it will be very premature to say that. Obviously, we did suffer a huge defeat in 2024 and this as well. But again, the whole point is that it's not something that should keep us down for too long, because it is not that out of the ordinary. It's something that has always seems to repeat in our political history. So again, I would not agree with that.
But what kind of internal pushback is he facing?
Internal pushback on the back of this
campaign, everything, him?
Well, I think it's understandable.
Is he? What kind? Everything is understandable, but which one has your attention?
Because of again, if you are the one in pole position, you are the front runner, you are the most formidable person, it's understandable that everybody will take jabs at you. So if you've been observing the internal atmosphere of the NPP, you see that His Excellency Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia goes out and he's speaking about his vision because he's very passionate about his vision for this country. He has demonstrated that to us over the years, even during his role as Vice President, that he really wanted to get us up to speed on putting Ghana on track to take full advantage of the booming digital economy. And so he did several things in that regard when he was Vice President. There are several we can talk about: the e-pharmacy, Ghana card, mobile money interoperability, buying the prepaid on your phone. See, these were all sort of building blocks to be able to move forward with his vision of plugging Ghana into the digital transformation that the world is experiencing, so that we can then begin to harness high-value jobs out of this whole ecosystem. So you can see that his vision is clear. We've got a lot of vindication of late. It's something that I even mentioned here on this platform some time ago about how his domestic gold purchase program and everything played an integral role in our recovery as a country. Because when the whole country went into a big problem with our economic situation, he didn't sit aloof as Vice President. He was able to evolve and innovate to come up with a solution that put us on a path of recovery. So all of this is quite obvious to most people in the party. It is quite obvious to our contenders. And so I would say that it looks like they are struggling to come up with messages. And so whenever they are given a platform, it is beginning to look like they take aim at him, which to me is a little worrying. But again, it's a democracy, so it's expected. So it is something that they take aim at him. He's a human being. You see, we're all human beings with blood running through our veins. Nobody wants to wake up every day and see that they are being lambasted. But consistent with the good character that Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia has, he takes it all in his strides. He understands that it's part of the game, and he will not be distracted by such comments because the focus is the vision.
Let's move on to other things. I'm sure that you have followed keenly the removal of the Chief Justice.
Yes, I have a lot of thoughts on that.
You do, huh?
I have a lot of thoughts on that. It's something that has been going on for a very long time. From the beginning of when all these processes were initiated, it was quite clear that the NDC had a premeditated plan to take out the Chief Justice. I was actually hoping that they wouldn't go through with this, but I think I was wrong, understandably, because they have removed the head of one of the arms of our government on the most frivolous of grounds that I can imagine. Like, the bar is so low now.
Who makes the bar low?
I think the bar is based on our values as a society, precedent, what has happened before, and just common sense, number 3. Because if you look at the reasons that I've seen come out, travel with family, really. So the head of one of the arms of government, that's the judiciary, is removed because she traveled with her daughter and her husband. Really, when we see the president's son with him everywhere, not to compare, but one would hope that to remove the head, I think that's another thing that people do.
Is that what the report said? The report didn't reduce it to just traveling with his.
So what did the report say?
The report says that the expenditure. Because if you're using the public funds, then it can amount to the fact that you're using it inappropriately. So it's not who you travel with. Guided by the...
Are you aware that there was one time the Auditor General's report was put out, and I think it involved one of the judges, and I think that there was a discrepancy in the expenses. I don't know if it was regard to fuel or something like that, and he was given the opportunity to refund them.
Surcharge, yeah.
Yeah. So
that's the argument. That's the argument the counsel for the Now, it's hard to say former Chief Justice.
Yeah, so
but that's the argument that former Attorney General Aiko Otu is saying, that the bar is low. The Auditor General, why not surcharge him? But then the question would, legal minds will just kick in quickly. If you're asking for a surcharge, one, it means that you're prescribing the kind of punishment that should be given to you. That's one. Because even the Auditor General is bound to ask for a surcharge. That's one. But is that not an admission? Is that not an admission? If you're asking for a surcharge, then it means that, yes, I may have used funds inappropriately.
Okay, Emefa, let me put this conversation in context, because sometimes I think it gets lost on us. And there's also a deliberate attempt to compare it with what happened with the removal of the EC chair. But let me sit here and remind all of us that they are not the same. We live in a democracy, and for that to function properly, we've all decided that we'll have 3 arms of government: the legislature, the executive, and the judiciary. For them to operate properly, they have to have some sort of independence and oversight over each other. So you would expect that the benefits that one person gets should be sort of the same across board. You cannot expect that the cause for removal of one of the heads of government would be reduced to something as simple as that, especially in the case where a surcharge can be done. What becomes the grounds for it? And one thing I was asking a friend of mine, that I'm pretty sure that if we are to go back and review the travel of all our former Chief Justices, we will find some discrepancies. It is very, very clear that this was just a calculated, premeditated attempt by the plot by the NDC even before they came into government. It looked like this is what they wanted to do, and so they found a way to do it. The charge itself is frivolous, and it's not worth the paper that it was written on. And I don't know how the NDC as a political party would want to do this, because it reminds us so much of their own tainted history when it comes to judicial matters. It leads one to wonder what their obsession with the judiciary is, because we were all in this country, I mean, some of us weren't even born, when that very unfortunate incident happened with the High Court judges. And this is something that most people's brains naturally link with remnants of the PNDC, which is now the NDC. And so for them to again come and be the first government in the history of our country, whether Fourth Republic, Third, Second, or First, to remove a certain Chief Justice, I don't think it's no small matter, and especially over this kind of issue.
Okay, so many are asking that, is this rule of law? Because then if you look at rule of law, the tenets of it, that does she being the Chief Justice insulate her from whether small or big misconduct? These are just sentiments of people asking that, how big should it be? How big should a misconduct be? And of course, the people, we also acknowledge that people say that the stated misbehavior or misconduct is too
ambiguous.
Too ambiguous. In fact, if they had even written something and we're not clear, then we'll say it's even ambiguous. In fact, there's nothing to put there.
Yeah.
So
doesn't that show just how mischievous this whole thing is?
So then the question is that, but for the president or the political party before election saying that we will do this, and I don't recall they say they'll remove the Chief Justice.
They will reset the judiciary.
They recess the judiciary.
The president himself didn't say that, but leading members of the NDC record to have said it.
Okay, so resetting the judiciary, I don't know how we have limited it to the Chief Justice only, but the question is, but for those comments, will we be having our discussion based on the provision in the Constitution?
Put in context, and you see, there is an exercise of discretionary power when the prima facie case was found by His Excellency the President.
How?
Because when you are determining such a case, you are supposed to do it without bias. It's supposed to be not capricious.
On him?
No, on finding the prima facie case, you are supposed to not be biased in that determination.
Of course.
And by the admission of the government, leading members, the president himself, that I'm going to reset the judiciary. You can see a pattern of bias emanating from there. So just from there, ab initio, there was a problem because you didn't do this out of nothing. There was a clear bias there.
If the Constitution didn't, if we didn't find ourselves, if this provision in the Constitution was not, quote unquote, too maybe weak, would he be able to go through with his decision to want to reset?
We can have a conversation about how tight the constitutional provisions are, but the truth is, MFR, we've lived with this constitution since 1992, and nobody has used it to remove a chief justice.
Has there been occasion? Has there been occasion?
We cannot be sure. Nobody has wanted to do it. I think that's what it is about. And you see, the law is written, but it is very much malleable in the hands of people. So if you want to do something, you would find a way to do it. And clearly that is what happened in this case. I came into some information coming into your studio, actually, that there's been a determination like this. Well, not a Supreme Court judge, another judge where a petition was brought and even a tribunal was formed and the recommendation was removal. But the president at that time in 2015, His Excellency John Mahama, did not action it. So at that point, we can say he erred because now they are trying to tell us it's automatic. So all I'm trying to prove is that it's this.
There are other precedents we can compare this action.
Yes. All I'm trying to say is that this was done because this is what they wanted to do. This is not a matter of the law, it's the law and all of that. Because if you get, I'm not a lawyer, so I don't want to go deeply into that. If you are to get seasoned lawyers to explain the matter to you, there are also lapses in the application of Article 147 in this case.
Yeah, and that's why my argument really is that you can wish to want to do anything at all, but if the legal frameworks or what you need to implement what you want to do doesn't exist, then it's just a wish. So the president or the NDC could have, envisaged that, well, we'll reset the judiciary, whatever it is that it means.
They wouldn't have been.
They wouldn't have been because it's not automatic.
Yeah. I mean, I think a conversation can be had about that.
That's why people are asking that, but she superintended this constitution, which I also do not agree because it's very adversarial in our way of judging in this country. The Chief Justice herself couldn't have identified that, this provision in the Constitution should be looked at.
She really cannot. The Constitution?
No, so they say that if the law is the law as it exists, until it is amended, until it is looked at, until it is reviewed, we may have to use that same law to apply for person A and apply for person B.
Yes, and the argument is that in the application of Article 147 itself, inherently, it was problematic. So it's not a clear case of the law is the law, we've just done what the law says. No. The argument is that in the application of Article 147 itself, it didn't exactly follow the due process because of that clear case of bias that existed there. So it's not about that, and I don't think she was the one who wrote the Constitution. A conversation can be had about whether or not Article 147 is needed, but in my humble opinion, for the whole establishment of checks and balances to work and be effective, there has to be some sort of clause for this possibility, because the whole idea is that one arm should be able to check the other. What we have to safeguard against is the way it is set up to put almost all the authority in the hands of the executive. If it can be done in such a way that it can be more objective and very difficult to do on such frivolous charges, that is where we should look at. But I do not completely agree with taking away all the power of removal, because the framers of the Constitution at that point had a reason for doing some of these things.
Well, what do you say to people who say that, just like what the former president said, he's just a conveyor belt, and so the president as well is just a conveyor belt? So it's a little argument that I'll advance here anyway. Yes, indeed, if he is a conveyor belt, he's the one that sets up the committees,
Yeah, and the president in 2015 just puts that whole argument to bed. Because if you were a conveyor belt at that time, that judge would have been removed. But it didn't happen. So you have shot yourself in the foot in that you've proven to people that are aware of the situation that indeed you can pick and choose which one to act on. So it's not, you see, there's no way you can slice this matter, MFA, that it does not look like a calculated and deliberate attempt by the NDC to undertake a judicial coup. There's no way to cut it.
Then would it be true when they say that it was also calculated for the removal of Charlotte Osei?
Well, I think in the instance of Charlotte Osei, the case was a little different. The petitions were brought by her own people. We saw everything that happened.
Procurement breaches, basically.
We saw everything that happened when they went to Parliament. I don't know if you remember that instance. And at the end of that whole process, all of them were removed. It wasn't a matter of singling out of one person like has been done in the case of the Chief Justice. You know, in the matter of the Chief Justice, one of the petitions even involves a decision of the bench, where she was a member of the bench, but she
in the Daniel Ofori's petition or in other ones, because what they did was the other ones
haven't even been discussed. But I'm just saying that's just how skewed this whole thing was, because some of the allegations against her were even based on decisions that were taken as a bench. And I always don't want this comparison with the matter of Charlotte Osei.
In fact, in law, precedent, so unfortunately we
but they are not the same thing at all, MFA. You see, that's what it is belittling to do that comparison, because the judiciary is an independent arm that should be allowed to exist. You know, in countries, even when there's a coup, they leave the judiciary alone. It's it's not comparable. For now, you can just imagine the amount of fear you've put into all our judges on the bench.
Do you agree to the alternative solutions that are being professed by others, that, well, then the president shouldn't appoint the Chief Justice, whether in consultation with the Council of Chiefs or Council of State or whatever it is, the president shouldn't appoint, because then if the president keeps appointing, then you know how when power changes and all of that. We just need to be disciplined in this country. It's as simple as that. Prior to this happening, it had never happened. Presidents have come and worked with Chief Justice they didn't appoint. It's something that this is the first time it has come up. Even if you look around the world, I think in the US, the president appoints the head. Even a place where they try to be so democratic and open, there's an appointment of justice to the Supreme Court by the president. So it becomes difficult. Then by what process are they suggesting that one is elevated to the head of the Supreme Court? The whole problem is the discipline and the beliefs in the true tenets of our democracy. Because if you're a true believer in the tenets of our democracy, as a president, you will find this to be a very difficult thing to do. And so you will not do it on such frivolous grounds. It's as clear as that. Always a pleasure talking to you.
It's always a pleasure to be here as well, MFA. It's been a good chat this morning.
Yes. Dr. Amwako is the deputy spokesperson for Bawumia campaign. I've been quite curious why you chose to want to be with the Bawumia camp.
Really?
Yeah.
So let me just give you a short story about this. So I worked on the campaign last year in 2024. I was the spokesperson on health. And so I had the opportunity to read the manifesto a lot. I took it so personally. I've read the whole book front to back a couple of times. And I was so impressed by the vision that was laid out in there, that after we lost, I had made the decision that, no, Ghana needs to see a Dr. Bawumia presidency if we want to move away from this autopilot kind of government that we want, and we want to see real growth and real change. Like his plans on Galamsey, which across board have been heralded by a lot of people as the best, you know, is an actual new idea. His plans on job creation and everything. So it was based on that manifesto that I became a true believer in the vision of Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia. And I'm on record to have said that even if he wasn't going to contest, I would go to his house with my family members and we will beg him. Because as a young person, I do believe that sometimes we need a leader that is thinking differently if we want to get to a point where we're having accelerated growth. See, there was a point in our history that we had the same kind of growth rates in GDP as South Korea. But now, they are way ahead and we are still where we are. And you can, if you study the trajectory of their history, it's quite clear that it was one man that came and said, no, we're doing things differently, and was able to create an economic situation where private sector was thriving so much that GDP of South Korea, one company contributes so much to it, and it was a deliberate action by one man.
We'll do this another time.
So I do believe that one man for us is Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, and so that is why
you're such a sweetheart every morning. Thank you. Thank you for joining us. You're watching the AM show. Please stay. We'll be right back.
we had more.
Welcome back to the show. This is the AM show. Now, time now to talk about EcoBank Joinees Habitat Fair. And today, joining me in studio are two of our very important vendors or partners, Doormasters and Elegant Homes. And from Doormasters, I've got Kukwa and Kwanza. Doormasters on her t-shirt is Unim Doormasters. That's amazing. And one of my personal favorite homes, Elegant Homes, and joining us is Laurentia Ofori Amanfo, Sales and Marketing Executive at Elegant Homes and General Construction Limited. Ladies, it's a ladies' affair. How are you both?
Fine, thank you.
Okay, let's start. I'm very well, thank you for asking. Let's start with you, Kukwa. Kukwa, tell me about Doormasters.
Okay, so when we say Doormaster, we are the leading retail outlets for quality doors, smart doors, premium doors, lifestyle doors, and accessories here in Ghana. We currently have over 14 branches and counting.
14 in Ghana?
Yes.
Okay. Wow. I mean, we'll come to why you thought to align with the EcoBank Joinees Habitat Fair, why you're part of us. But let me go to Elegant Homes. I know Elegant Homes. I know Elegant Homes, but tell me about it.
So Elegant Homes is a construction company which builds and sells 3, 4, 5-bedroom detached houses in a gated community called Elegant Court. We are located at Katamanso off the Adenta Dodowa Road, and we also have an affiliate company called Elegant Homes Products, which fabricates and sell high-quality UPVC windows and door profiles, plasterboards, and many more.
Okay. But so for Doormaster, tell me why you thought to be part of the Habitat Fair.
Okay, so everybody that knows that the Habitat Fair is one of the biggest gathering for people in the construction industry. And as far as we sell doors, we provide security and we provide luxury and comfort for homeowners and anybody that requires security in their home. Yes, of course, we need to be part of it because Habitat Fair, why not?
Okay, well, for you as head of sales and marketing, what is that one favorite thing about Doormasters that beyond anything, when you go to sleep and wake up, you know that for Doormasters, I'm happy to be working with them and I'm happy that we're aligned with the Habitat Fair?
Okay, so for Doormaster, the Habitat Fair has provided us opportunity to meet a lot of, clients and then people that have what we are looking for in terms of people that want to make sure that the security of their home is intact, people that are looking for opportunity to provide safety for their family. The Habitat Fair brings together all these people. So it's been good so far, and then we're actually looking forward to the next edition because we have a lot of amazing offers on ground. Currently, we have the Doormaster Chadekese promo.
Okay.
Yes, so we want to tell everybody that if you come to the Joy Habitat Fair, Doormaster is offering free doors. Yes, so if you buy our doors, we give you other doors for free, and then we offer you free installation. So these are many other things that we want the whole Ghana to enjoy. That Doormaster, we are here to make sure that Ghanaians are getting nothing but the best in terms of quality doors, in terms of premium doors, and beautiful lifestyle doors.
I'll come and ask whether you have the door that if I slump, I will still stay intact.
If I should give you the breakdown, we have all type of doors.
We'll talk about that. Okay. But Elegant Homes, tell me, why have you, I know that you have been with Habitat Fair for a while.
Yeah.
But why do you keep coming? Why are you still part of us?
So yes, Habitat Fair gives us the experience. We get to experience different innovations. Every year we get to meet clients or customers, which generates leads, which results to sales. So yes, Habitat Fair is a big platform that every year we get to showcase whatever we have. And every year we bring in new different types of designs and other things to it.
Every year I check your madam's logs and it gets longer. It tells me that she keeps coming all the time. We're doing that measurement. I'll let you also tell us, I mean, we know that you're about homes, but specifically tell us type of homes? You said that it's an elegant court. You've told us the type of buildings, but let us in a lot more.
So we have the 3 and 4 bedroom houses currently. We do 3, 4, 5, but currently on sale we have the 3, 4 bedroom houses. So the 3 bedrooms, we have different types of the 3 bedrooms. Yes, and so when you get to the estates, you get to see we have some with boys' quarters, some without boys' quarters. We have some, all the 3 rooms are en suite. We have some too, some of the rooms are sharing. So we don't have a straight jacket 3 bedroom. Even the design, we keep bringing in new designs each and every year. And this year is no other. We have a lot of different designs available.
Okay.
Yes.
After Kuka, when I come to you, I'd like to know whether it's you only build what you have and put on sale, or you can sell land. People can come with their designs and all of that. Let me come to Kuka. Okay, let me come to Kuka. Kuka, I have an illness. I slam doors all the time. Every time I slam the door, I say, "Ready me door, you, ebebo." Tell me, door master, what type of doors are you into?
Okay, so door master, we sell all type of doors. When I say all type of doors, we have budget-friendly doors, we have medium doors, we have premium doors. We have doors that have warranty up to 30 years. Yes, you heard me right. So, you know, we've realized that as providers for home security, we've also noticed that there's a trend when it comes to the weather friendliness of doors. So there are most doors, you see them very lavish, beautiful, luxurious. But in terms of protection against weathering, they don't provide that. And most people buy very elegant, beautiful, secure doors, but then within a short period, it begins to wither, it begins to deteriorate because they are not built for weathering. So because we have been in the industry not too long, but for the past 5 years, we have learned due to our interactions with customers and all that. And so when it comes to Door Master, we have weather-friendly doors. I'm talking about doors that are anti-fade, anti-corrosive, comes with warranty on the fade property. So we are telling Ghanaians that if you buy doors from Door Master, we have doors that we grant you warranty of up to 5 to 30 years, depending on the type of door you're buying.
Do you have that door that there's some small hobby that when somebody does kokoko, you can see whether
that one is just, okay, so let me go into that. Aside from that, we call ourselves the future of smart security. So our special series and royal series doors provide full premium smart access. I'm talking about having about 5 different ways to access your door. We're in the era where we use our face to open our phones. When you come to Door Master, we have doors that you can use facial recognition to open. Okay. You're able to use your thumb, you're able to use a swipe card, you're able to use a PIN code, and then it comes with full HD screens that gives you the privilege to preview whoever is at your door. So we don't do kokoko at Door Master. You get to see whoever is coming. And we actually have doors with invisible handles. So it gives you access only if it knows you. If you press on it and your thumb is configured, the door handle comes before you can get in. So yes, if we say we are the future of smart security, we know what we are saying.
Okay.
And this and many other more. So the peephole ones, we have them. We have the
that's what you call peephole?
Yeah, it's called peephole. But these ones are full HD screens, so we've gone beyond that actually.
So now I can actually even see the screen and decide whether I open or
open. You can access on your phone.
Okay. Now, Laurentia, tell me, so can I just have you, can I come and locate a land over there, give you a design for you to build for me? Or do you have any other services as well that you...
Okay, so we don't sell lands, but what we do is we have availability for clients to bring in their own designs.
Okay.
So we have our designs, all right? You can also choose from our designs to be modified, but you know, clients, sometimes they want their own, like a dream home. So yes, they come with their own design. We take you to the site and show you this is where your house can be located. So yes, we do. We give in walk-ins to bring in their design for us to build for them in the estate.
Okay. Yes. Reiterate the number of rooms, 3 bedroom,
3 and 4 bedrooms.
Okay, so for now it's 3 and 4 bedroom as well.
But more, we can.
What's the neighborhood like? What's the neighborhood? People are very concerned
It's a very
about
serene environment. We have people staying in, which moves every time in the morning to go to work, and it's
community based.
Yes, it's a community based. It's a court that has people coming in and everything. So it's an entertainment. When you get to the sites and even at the gate, when you watch, you can even look at the houses. When you watch from, and we have the streets in between. So when you get to the gate, you first look at the Hibiscus Street. Even if you don't have the money,
I dream. I have been dreaming it. I see.
Yeah.
It's always been beautiful since it started, and I can tell that it's true. If you can't even go inside, you there just drive by and then take a look at it.
There.
Dormaster, you're expensive. My friends are asking me to ask if you're expensive, but I mean, of course, if you can see the person who is coming into your house before you open the door, they should be expensive.
Okay, so that is the interesting part that we want people to know, that at Dormaster, we believe that security is a basic necessity, and so everyone deserves it. So whether you want something basic, whether you want something premium, Dormaster is a place that we provide security for everyone. So like I mentioned earlier, we have economy doors. So we have doors that are budget friendly, and then we have people that, you know, they have gotten to that status where prestige, luxury, and status is the concern. If you come to Dormaster, we cater for everyone. So far as you need door for your entryway, look nowhere else. Dormaster has everybody sorted.
There are 2 people that have said Achedie that I know. My boss has a child called Achedie. You have also mentioned that you have Achedie. So what, when we come to your stand at the Habitat Fair and we purchase, you're doing a promo. This promo is running before. Let me in on the promo.
Okay, so this is, I think, by far the most interesting promo I've seen all my life. I'm not saying that because I'm a Dormaster, but then in this day and age where things are so hard, it's very difficult for people to say that buy something and then let me give you another thing for free. The Achedie Kese promo is called Achedie Kese because it's huge. When you buy our Royal Special and Interior Series, we give you interior doors. I mean, you can get glass bathroom door, tempered glass bathroom door, or wooden interior door for absolutely free. And then we give you free installation on all doors. So let's say you need about 6 exterior doors. You're walking away with 3 interior doors and then free installation on all the doors you're taking.
That's a good deal.
Exactly.
Arisha, give me some offer. What are your offers as well?
Elegant Homes is giving a 10% discount on all our prices. We are giving a free remote controlled garage. We are giving a ceiling speakers as well, fitted kitchen and fitted wardrobe.
Nice.
All the bedrooms.
Say it again. Hey, 10%.
A 10% discount on all our prices. Then we give you a free remote controlled garage. We give you ceiling speakers, fitted wardrobe, and fitted kitchen.
That's really nice. That's very generous of you guys. That's very, very generous. So how can we contact you, at least even before the stand and after the stand and all? How can we contact you?
Okay, so before the fair, we are located at Katamanso off the Adenta Dodowa Road. You can also call us on 0576 597419 or 0244 699053. During the fair, which is 12th to 14th September at Accra Mall, come and visit our stand and know more about Elegant Homes.
Go and find Laurentia at the stand.
Where quality meets value.
You want can't problem, yeah. Thank you. So when you go to the stand, it's happening 12:13. You can go to the mall and then look for Laurentia, and then all the questions that I may not have asked here, you can get it. But Kukwa as well, how can we find you?
Okay, so Dormaster has 15 branches. We have our main branch at Pobiman Toll Booth on the Insawam Road, where the toll booth used to be. We are at Ashalaja, around the Forest Reserve. We are at Obeyeye. We are at Tema, 25. So people around Tema and its enclave, we are at Tema 25. We also have a branch in Kaswa, Tipa Junction. We are in Suhum, around the Islamic University. We are in Sawam, around the overhead. And then we are also around there in Sawam General Hospital. If you come to our latest branch, people along Dodowa Road, Oyibi, and its environs, we have a new, beautiful, state-of-the-art showroom where you can be able to have, experience the doors in any way. If you want to test whatever I'm saying, that you can preview who is at your door, you can check the fingerprint and all that, you can visit any of these branches. So we are at Amaya, around the toll booths. And then we are also in Kumasi, Ahinsan. We are right adjacent the Kumeman Rural Bank. And then our latest branch is also at Kronum, opposite the police station. So yes, Doormaster, in terms of proximity, we are almost everywhere. So if you need doors, just reach out to us. We are online. If you check www.doormaster.online, you can check all the products we have available. Okay. You can also reach us on social media. So we are very active on TikTok, on Doormaster GH. We are on Instagram, we are on Facebook, we are on Snapchat. Everywhere else, Doormaster is available. You can reach us on 0548 40 26 40. Okay. 0548 40 26 40. Okay. So we are telling everybody that when you come to the Habitat Fair, look for Doormaster. We have usually the most beautiful stand. And so come and take pictures. If you want to have very nice, it's well lit, everybody, Elegant Home can actually attest to that. Okay. Our stand is very beautiful. So please visit us and then enjoy the Achade Kesia promo. Doormaster, we say the best indoors.
Thank you so much, Kukwa. Laurentia, you mentioned the number again quickly.
So 0576 597419 or 0244 699053 on all social media platforms, Elegant Homes GH. You can email us at sales@eleganthomesgh.com. Thank you
so much, Kukwa and Kondo, at Head of Sales and Marketing, Laurentia Furiaman for Sales and Marketing Executive, Elegant Homes and General Constructions Limited. You should find both of them at the mall from 12th to 14th of September. You don't want to miss it. However, make your dream home a reality with EcoBank. Step into your ideal home or transform your current space into one that truly reflects your style and comfort, all with the support from EcoBank. EcoBank has once again partnered with Joy News to bring you an exciting experience at the EcoBank Joy News Habitat Fair. This year's edition makes your journey to a comfortable, modern home even more accessible and affordable. With EcoBank's Buy Now, Pay Later, you can easily renovate, upgrade, or furnish your home to suit your taste and lifestyle. Whether it's elegant home decor, modern furniture, essential electronics like laptops and homes, or solar energy solutions, EcoBank has the right financing tailored to your lifestyle, from staying connected with the latest devices to embracing sustainable living. Our flexible consumer loans, asset finance, and salary advance products are designed to help you bring your vision to life. So go and enjoy competitive interest rates, convenient repayment terms, and fast approval from a bank that understands your need. Visit the stand and take the first step toward the home and lifestyle you deserve. Comfortable home starts with EcoBank. Be part of it. EcoBank, the Pan-African Bank. AM Show, we'll be right back. Welcome back. We're wrapping the show nearly, but quickly before that, are you looking to do things differently, level up your skills and get ahead in this challenging job market? Statistics show it's tough out there here for university graduates, with only a few landing jobs immediately after school. Doing things differently is what the Design and Technology Institute, DTI, is all about. DTI offers programs ranging from precision welding and fabrication, design innovation, graphic design, sound engineering, animation, photography, and many more. Entrepreneurship programs are internationally recognized by the American Welding Society, Pearson, BTEC, and TCTVET. So you can shine here in Ghana or anywhere in the world. So If you're ready to do things differently and chart your path, check out DTI or visit dtiafrica.com/admissions. You can call them on 0541 I'll bring you that number a little later, but here 0541 693534 0541 693534 for more information. And as well, ABC Game is paying big, and your name could be next. You can dial *262#, pick any 3 letters, stake from 5 Ghana cedis, and win up to 1 million Ghana cedis with daily draws at 10 a.m., 5 p.m. on Adum TV, and as well at 9 p.m. You can play multiple times a day. And for the bold players, Friday Jackpots is the real deal. 1 letter, 3 times stake, 2 letters, 8 times stake, and 3 letters, any other 200 times stake. Exact order, 2,000 stake, 20,000 Ghana cedis, and more up for grabs. Play more than 10 per round to increase your winning. It's licensed by the NLA under the Caritas platform. And as well, Ghana here, we've not talked about Syntex. Let's talk about Syntex tank now. Do you know the secret to real water storage? It's simple. If your tank doesn't have the tortoise on it, then it's not the correct tank. That's right. The tortoise tank, Syntex tank, is the champion of water tanks. It is strong and durable and built to handle Ghanaian weather, rain or shine. Syntex tank has your back. So my people, go outside, check your tank, and if it doesn't have a tortoise on it, it's time to upgrade. Join the Syntex tank family today and enjoy water storage that's tough like a tortoise. You can call 0244-335-168 to buy now, or find one of the 400 agents nationwide. You can also shop online at syntexgh.com. Syntex tank, a strong, a tough. Now, let me tell you as well that Digital Asset Summit Africa is happening this month of September 29th to 30th, 2025. It's happening here in Accra. You can be part of it by just going on their website and reading more and getting more information. dasummitafrica.com. dasummitafrica.com for more information. But let me give you this tip so you prepare for your pension. On your screen, do you know Ghana's pension system has 3 powerful tiers, all designed to ensure that you accumulate enough pension benefits for a decent retirement life? Tier 1 is your mandatory basic national social security scheme managed by SNIT. Under the scheme, you enjoy monthly pensions when you retire. It also provides invalidity, survivors, and immigration benefits for foreigners who decide to leave the country. Tier 1 also securing your basic pension needs for the future. This is from the NPRA, ensuring retirement income security. A special thank you for joining us today on the AM show. You're all amazing. For more, you can log on to myjoyonline.com. Mami Sinyamecha Thompson comes up with Joy News Desk. Please stay. I am MFA Akwatia Adeti.